last pick, which is likely to be that Nami. Instead, they go towards the Braum for the anti-melee, and into a triple melee comp can have some value. I think BLG have come away with a better draft than they did in the last series versus Anyone's Legend. Now, that doesn't mean it's them winning the draft. It means it's more competitive. Now, I think that they've got a lot of champions with a ton of mobility, a ton of wave clear, and a ton of ability to have individual impact on the fights. That BLG will be feeling happy with this. Anyone's Legend, I don't think they've crushed the draft in the same way that they did the last time we saw these two.
I agree. And I also look at someone like Elk, who, at his best, when he has been feeling it, when he is balancing along that knife's edge, has been nearly unsurpassed on the Lucian in the LPL at points. He's been really, really dangerous on that champion. We were discussing, and the crowds will have the first word here in our first game of the day.
I believe our Gyos have finished there. Loud crowd, as it should be for the finals here on JDG's arena, but they're not here. For the first time in 7 years, JDG and Top Esports are not part of our top 4. Now, typically, that has been with players like Knight hopping between those rosters. Both those teams have showcased excellence. Perhaps a changing of the guard, a changing of the eras now. BLG, a team which we've known to be top tier for a number of years now. Anyone's Legend, a team which are becoming that. If you are coming into the LPL and wanting to learn about our new teams and the teams which will represent us going internationally, Anyone's Legend have absolutely deserved that. Tarzan is a player you should know. Perhaps some of the others you're less familiar with. Kyle making his first international event as well, potentially getting a title for himself as well. DB2 in the bot side, starting up right now. Ooh, Kyle missing the crash there and getting Braum passive. That's not how you want to start.
That's on his rel as well. That's a champion I think he's probably been the most prolific on across his career, and that is a rough start. The Winter Spike number 2 does go wide, so there is that. He's got some pots, so it's not the end of the world, but it's a bit dicey in terms of looking to fight for control here at the level 1.
And that Lucian for Elk has forever been one of his better champions. I hope we were just saying that his Corki not necessarily the same for him. What's happening with jungle stars? Tarzan spotted, importantly. He's on wards there. Beitron will be spotted as he goes down towards his Raptors. There was a ward put in from Anyone's Legend there. We said that between these two, early skirmishes tends to determine the series. And jungle support tends to be a big part of those early skirmishes. Tarzan being spotted early on helps BLG not fall prey to the mastermind jungler himself.
Challenging. Our eyes on it. Knight. A bit of a rough time on the Knight, the Yone into Aurora matchup in the early lane versus Rookie.
It is a hard matchup. It is hard. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we saw the Yone Aurora trade at Worlds last year. Now the champions have changed quite a lot, but still the identities are fairly similar, and early lane bully is something which Aurora very much does versus melee laners. Knight 7-1 on the Yone though. Did get solo killed in the last game. Still dropped like a 13 kill game on them in that series. Was kind of insane. And that Yone still something which he played very, very well in that series.
Right, rebounding to Soul briefly. Has been chunked out a little bit early on. He's got the fleet footwork in the door and shield, so he's always deceptively healthier than you think he is. Still, the early push is there for Shanks. Elk steps on force, gets the double shattering strap, but still a decent amount of damage back onto Hope, so just stops the engage being a bigger trade than it might otherwise have been.
Still losing that push, gives Beitron free entry into this bot side, and if BLG win lanes, like bot lane, we know that Elkanon can be the best bot lane within the LPL. If they start winning lane against Hope and Kyle, that removes a lot of the teeth from Anyone's Legend. You can see already Tarzan has to leave the bot side of the map, goes towards top side instead. Even with Shanks winning the early lane matchup, which you do expect for the Yone versus the Aurora, another Q hits there, it'll be another electrocute afterwards, so Knight's still eating the pain there. But because bot lane is winning, BLG and Beitron get a bit of breathing room.
Do it that. And again, you're really wanting to get towards things like level 6s for a lot of these champions. Yes, you can do some fun things with Sejuani combos. You can find a good gank angle. The Permafrost passive is good. You are realistically waiting for that one item spike a lot for BLG here, where they really come into the truth of their power. Reset from Knight early on there as he took a nasty old trade, but should still be able to come back to the lane with a little bit more on their names. Beitron waiting on the Krugs respawn. Should be on that one. As they will now look to get a shove on in the top side bin. Getting a decent chunk here versus Flandre, who's eating some nasty combos. Flandre Doing his best to keep going. He's on the Space Groove Gwen with all those cool disco noises every time she presses W. It's very satisfying. H1 definitely looking to get as much value here as he can. Really power farming as fast as he can towards 6. Fight in a similar position. No one's really pulled a gank as yet. Bot side. Permafrost.
Might not need to.
As they get a massive damage onto Elk and flashes out. Does get to stay alive. Hope now eating some Winter Spike, but a really nice engage there from AL. Punishing as BLG finally eat a bit of a taste of their own medicine.
Oh, big mistake there from Elk, blowing both summoners and flip back his on Mighty Flash.
Oh, gets the mount up, flash away does Kyle. Does manage to get back out, not a lot of mana there, but another good trade from anyone's legend.
Now you have to look at the junglers. Everyone's low bot side. Baytron coming down. Can the player, which no one expected to be here, make his impact early on?
Got the Arctic Assault, lands the Winter's Flare, but the Valkyrie enough from Hope to keep him safe.
If there was a Flash Q, potentially could have interrupted that. Forced Flash for Flash. Turning up on the bot side of the map just in time to save his bot lane's mistake. Elkanon, good early levels. Not necessarily able to completely dominate the lane.
No, not as yet. Some nice trades there from Kyle. Got some good value from them to make this one as scary as they can be. Level 6 is coming on through, and our solo lane has been versus Flandre. Two of our longest standing top laners. Now Flandre in particular has been playing for a long, long time. Before the Shy there was Flandre. Of course, after the Shy there was Bin. It's two very different generations of LPL top laners still competing at the top level.
So Kyle, no Flash. Oh, that's a problem.
Despite lands, Permafrost passive comes on down, crashes down. It's got no Flash to work with. Another Permafrost comes on down, combined with the concussive blows. You can see why the Sejuani Prime is dangerous. Flash on board from on, gets the passive auto, lands a Winter's Bite. The slow's coming on down, double passives being stacked, but neither fully procs. Exhaust onto Bin as the needles come flying on through. Flandre doesn't hit as many of those as I think he was hoping. Fine lands another. The Electro Harpoon, flash on forward from Bin, trying to get some more damage onto Flandre. Missed the second Harpoon though. Can he land another now? How long until the Hallowed Mist? Flandre just about safe.
Bin, if he hits that E halfway through the trade, probably gets the kill there, but you can see the Sejuani Braum after the races early on, and BLG get themselves that first kill onto Kyle. Again, a key member from anyone's legend. Kyle being down a Flash, being down pressure in lane, has given anyone's legend a harder early game to work towards. Kyle now out on the map, will be spotted on top river, but will at least clear the ward on his way out.
A little bit of a lane swap coming on through, while the Dragons being taken, trying to get themselves out of the lane that has started to get a little dicey there, and take the opportunity to have some priority and setup around the grubs spawning in about 45 seconds. Elk and On will take the opportunity to shove in that bot lane and then possibly reset from there. Knight looking to scout out a potential invade from Tarzan.
He's doing what you do with LeBlanc, where you press like your mobility spell forwards with the flip back, you put a ward down and then you flip back. So he uses his E, safely goes into his own jungle, puts a ward down on river, knowing that Kyle and Tarzan are there, just to make sure that they have some extra vision coverage, while he's also safe to ping back with his soul.
Tarzan goes into the enemy jungle. I think he nabbed away a red buff while he was there. I was a bit busy looking at Knight, but he did go into the red buff pit, so I'm going to assume that's what happened. And we'll likely look to pick up a couple extra camps here before grubs spawn. See whether either team wants to start them on spawn. I think Hope here more interested in getting the second plate currently rather than being in the river right now.
Hope escaping this bot lane matchup. For now, good vision control by anyone's legend in that topside river. Yes, we did call out Knight putting that one ward down in topside river. That might actually be quite impactful. Grubs have spawned, but anyone's legend largely doing a good job of setting up on the top side of the fight for the grubs.
IL, potentially dangerous spot, but so is Hope. Kind of caught over the wall there. Won't need to burn anything though. Can't quite pull the trigger. Grubs started by anyone's legend. Our first possible fight of the game probably brewing.
Bin not teleporting. Well, he doesn't have that teleport, so he can't really do much. BLG just looking to see if there was a mistake made, but because he stayed on bot side with no teleport, BLG not looking for a true fight, just a pick at best.
I won't lie, I was hungering for action. Alex is indeed entirely correct there. It would have been a little bit of an overforce from BLG, but hey,
yeah,
we've seen them take those hands checks before, so maybe I wasn't entirely off base.
Yeah, Bin trying to get himself an individual advantage. Not able to get a second plate here. Just gets that one. Giving 3 grubs over to anyone's legend. Guess they don't have the best tower hitting team, but anyone's legend are a very good macro team. Now they have 3 grubs to cross map against you on. That could be a problem. Tarzan, we saw that cute. As BLG go into the bot side jungle. Tarzan, Kyle, there to answer.
It's been a bit of an interesting set of plays. The Gwen about to come collapsing, but so are Elkin on. Red buff secure, Glacial Prison, and Tarzan. Oh, Tarzan, not another finals where this kind of thing happens. Elk steps on board for the turnaround. Tarzan goes down. Elk low, TP in, needs to find a way out the back end of the Cullen coming on down, but I don't think he has a way to escape too. As they lose another, the double shattering strike, the mount up. And anyone's legend punish.
And Knight pulls the teleport button, but he's too late to impact the play. It's not 10 minutes yet. BLG, they live and die by the early skirmishes, and in this one, they die. Shanks, massive ultimate in the middle of that fight was the huge difference maker, and because Knight now teleported away from that top lane, it means that Ben, rather, it's actually on teleporting up top side. Spellbook, yeah. I was like, wow, why would Braum do that? But yeah, no, Knight not there to influence the fight. You can see that, no, the initial play is not bad. I mean, Tarzan doesn't have flash, but it's not a full kill. You think maybe you can get that Braum passive down. If that Braum Q hits,
yeah,
I think you actually get a clean kill. Because it doesn't, they overstay. The Aurora gets a huge clump to dunk down on with a full combo, and Elk dies easily.
It's a nice angle from Shanks there, hopping the wall of the Raptor Pit. Very astute from him. Ends up being a little too far from BLG. Not the end of the world, but the gold lead remains. Near enough, neck and neck. 100 between the two teams right now. Keeping us aligned and ready. Bin completes the Leandry's first item done for him. The Essence Reaver for Elk. It is the current first item of choice for the Lucians. More ability to just spam out those abilities and get as many of them out as you damn well can.
And the first item obviously very important. However, Elk is also behind the game. Good early few levels. Kind of evened out by a mistake from Elk afterwards, which lost him both the summoners, dying in that skirmish there. Means that Lucian is a little bit far behind the game. There is a Vi that's going to be flying on top of your head. There's going to be an Aurora which can burst you out as well. Elk is going to have to play these fights very, very well, because there's a lot of tools to deal with a Lucian who's not steamrolling the game.
Not yet, at the very least. Not yet. The gold leads, as you can see, pretty neck and neck. A couple hundred gold here, a few hundred gold there. Importantly, of course, Shanks, a player who we have praised a lot this split. Been one of our most consistent mid laners. A pretty great spot here in this game. Up a couple kills. The double masks in inventory. Who knows what face he has behind them.
So what that will be is the Leandry's into the Bloodletters to make sure you can shred some magic resist for Flandre on the Gwen. Means that you can help out a little later to be the first burst going in, which allows Gwen to clean up. It could be very important actually later into the game. Flandre on the Gwen has been a masterful player of the champion towards the start of the split. Ben right now getting the advantage over him, has his Leandry's first, so he's got the advantage. Now also has teleport, and of course it's now the unlocked teleport, which will arrive to the scene of the crime a little earlier.
Hope does walk up to that Tribe Rush. I was a little nervous with there being 3 people around, but he was safe enough and didn't overstep around. Dragon spawning in 3 seconds. BLG got the first dragon. A look to claim the second here. The last one ends up in a great fight for them. Beware that anyone's legend feel the need to contest. They've got Tarzan, Kyle, and Hope around.
Knight doing okay in this individual matchup too. You know, even in CS. Dragon started, melee synergy with Sejuani Braum helping. Here come the teleports.
Multiple ones. We've got a fight brewing. The storm clouds above this files come on in. It's a magnetic version of him, and they blow up Elk again. He's roadkill. Continue to hunt for some more. Flandre here, and the needles come on through. It's an acupuncture session from hell as Beitwan is bacon. A wonderful fight from anyone's legend.
BLG fall prey to Shanks in his second finals back-to-back. His Aurora in the early game has been game-changing. BLG have overstayed, been overbold, and now they're going to get punished by the 3 grubs of anyone's legend. Yes, they get out with the dragon, but it's a huge issue that Elk goes up to that fight, knowing that there's a flanking Aurora and the Rel, and can't escape the engage because he has no flash. BLG behind in the early game, the early skirmishes not working out in their favor. Last time they faced up, anyone's legend, when they won the early skirmishes, they could outscale and out-teamfight BLG.
And again, just a lack of vision for BLG. Wonderful angle from Kyle. They see that ward go down, and they still don't respect Kyle's wonderful flank angle.
Oh, this is on Elk. Elk has to position more greedily, less greedily there. He falls prey to the engage. Yes, he doesn't have his flash, but surely BLG should note that their AD carry is under threat with Kyle showing on vision like that. Knight did a good job of showcasing him on the flank, but BLG didn't respect it, and now suddenly Elk is 1,000 gold behind.
Corki's off to the races, and that is a good sign. We've seen Hope overplay on the Corki once or twice in the past. So far, so good in this game 1. Up 2,000, well, 1,500 gold. However, the Dragons are still there for BLG. It's certainly not out of reach, even if that fight was less than elegant. Maybe that's the way we'll put it.
Yeah, BLG lost a lot of gold in plates after that last play, basically, where a lot of things came through. At the top of the screen, you can see that. I think 750 gold taken from plates for anyone's legend, 250 for BLG. I think that was only Bin who took plates across the early game too. Now, he is ahead a little bit in gold. However, Bin's Rumble has not been his power pick. He hasn't been good at this. The last time he played it versus anyone's legend, his ultimates were going to Narnia. They weren't in the right place. Now, him with the gold advantage, important amount of damage to throw into the team fight. He must play better than that if he wants to claim another title for himself.
Just warning you all, if he lands a good ultimate, it's the Lion, the Witch, and the Equalizer. It's coming out. Yep. That's the one. See whether he can make some magic happen. Once you're in finals, it's the thing of stories for a lot of players, even if the likes of BLG in particular, this is no strange venue for them. Not even on the other side for anyone's legend, just a few of their players. Koff, Tarzan, Koff, who have been here and found nothing but disappointment over the years.
Elk getting out traded in mid lane, no surprise being against the Corki who's got Triforce and Tabby. I don't know what else he's going to do in this game now. No, his early laning phase was good, but that's been kind of the end of the good news. Has both summoners now. It's not the best terrain, though, to play against Herald when the wall is at your back. Knight could teleport in. BLG have been taking fights before. Those teleports could really be useful, though, so far. Herald started up. Rumble, level 11. It's really good for him to get that second level out of that ultimate before Flandre as well. Potentially they could look for a pick, but Bin might be the one who's out of it order first.
Gets flash queued into the cease and desist. The Equalizer's just on the wave, and he is dead to rights.
Teleport in. Tarzan did use flash and ultimate, but losing the level 11 Equalizer before the fight can come out, you can't afford to do that, Bin.
Does clear the wave and probably prevents the turret going down, but it means they can't fight for this Herald.
I mean, yes, but then you look on the other side of the map, Shanks has teleport. It's a 4v4 on top side, but he can stay bot side with 3 grubs and threaten that tower anyway.
Yeah, that's going to get tricky. Maybe they still want to play this on, trading out with the vision. BLG still around the about. I hear the call of summoners coming on down, trying to make that one happen. And Shanks just TPs in, helps get that Herald. They leave without that prize as on switches summoners, the Ghost running.
Yeah, just using that to get unlock his exhaust, I think, potentially. Does mean that Shanks leaves the bot lane and doesn't take that first turret, but AL, much better on the teleports, much better at the setup for the fights around Vision and the initial picks from them. BLG have been out-strategized by anyone's legend in their series against them, in the games we've seen from them so far in this playoffs. BLG need to find themselves those big gold leads, otherwise they feel a little less powerful. You know, Tarzan hops over the wall, skirting what potentially could be Vision a trap, and Ben just disrespects where Tarzan could be on the map. Doesn't put down a ward, doesn't spot out anything in that top side. No one's walking into top river either. Very greedy from Ben. You were the one with the gold lead. You give a kill over to Flandre, which basically cuts that to nothing. And Ben, he doesn't have the agency now that he did a few minutes ago.
Here comes the Spirit Cleave. Q through that minion, through the waves. Gets a decent amount of work done there, but the early lead beginning to balloon into uncomfortable levels right now for anyone's legends. They have managed to get solid advantages across the jungle, across the 2 carries in mid and bot, and we said it might be about jungle support. So far, their engages have been very good, and their carries have gratefully received the setup.
And credit to On. I think On's been doing a good job on the Braum. I don't think Beitran's been bad either. I just think that BLG, on the whole, haven't been in the right place. They are getting towards potentially a soul point very early, though.
Flandre back of the pit isn't going to be on Vision. Then comes the Permafrost trying to stack that one down. It's taken by Gwen! Equalizer coming on down. They're getting a lot of work done. Elk throws out a few autos, but Beitran trying to jump away. And in the end, anyone's actually get the dragon and 2 kills. Bin now running away, about to be put into his namesake until he flashes away. The collection day another time around.
Flandre, you monster, gets into the back of the pit, into the Ocean Rift bush. BLG were trying to rush an early soul. That's their out. That's their win condition in this game when they're falling behind like this. But Flandre spooks Beitran and the rest of the team. The smite key that was so good for Beitran versus Invictus Gaming falls foul here. And BLG do not get themselves the easy 3rd dragon, and they're still falling further behind in the game.
I need to see that again. I think it was 90 HP. Tried to proc it with the Permafrost as well and just got the smite timings wrong. That's really rough.
Game 1 for BLG has often not been their best scenario. Flandre off the vision, hops out of it as well. And look here, tries to go for the Permafrost. 71 HP, 58. Goes down to the last needlework. The smite's just early. Maybe thinking that Tarzan could get into play as well. And of course, while all that's happening, BLG have given up good setup to clump up around the dragon to kill it, and AL destroy those clumps. Shanks, that's like his 3rd, 4th grouped up between worlds in this game. His Aurora has been game-changing.
I'm looking at it now, and every time I'm coming to these dragons, I'm seeing anyone's legend with wards still up and available, having good pockets to play out of that are forcing BLG into strange and uncomfortable teamfight shapes, making their life so much harder than it needs to be. And it's BLG trying to play reactive. And yes, you've got things like the Brawn, but you want to be stepping forward with the Sejuani ult, with the ability to pounce on those targets and bring them low with the power of the Yone, the Lucian at the 1 item mark, hell, the Rumble.
But even with that 1 item mark, it was a later 1 item mark for BLG than it should have been. Bin has gold, and we've talked about that. I don't think he's going to be game-changing, though, at this point, particularly not if it's Bin's Rumble. And then Elk and Knight, they're the ones who are suffering a bit. Knight finally gets into a side lane. He'll trade 1 for 1 in terms of the side lane outer turrets, but Knight is behind Shanks by a significant margin, has 7 stacks in the Dark Seal. Leandri is going in towards the Blood Letters, which will unlock Flamberry to do more damage as the AP Black Cleaver effectively. Knight is in a position where he needs to buy time. BLG need to buy time for Elk and Knight to somehow get their damage. They should have been ahead early. That hasn't been the case.
I'll start to at least get towards second time, so the Flicker Blades build from the Lucian gives you more ability with the Essence Reaver to just churn through rotations without worrying about such things as cooldowns and mana. That would be great if it wasn't for the fact you were 3,000 gold down, that you had not got the Soul Point win condition. It's still playable potentially from here, but it's anyone's legend with this gradually increasing control over the map, control over the objectives. I've yet to see a clean BLG to fight, and that worries me.
Yeah, they had that first pick onto Kyle, and that's been it. BLG, worse on the vision control, worse on the approach to the objectives. Anyone's legend, much better on them. They are our strategists. Tarzan, Tabe, real masterminds of their craft. Patreon and on, going towards the bot side. Of course, the Atacon is up and available. Here comes Shanks, and that's always a little scary, isn't it, when he's around the corner with that amount of gold?
With a name like that, absolutely. I grew up in London, mate. You know what I mean?
Give him the Chelsea grin. Patreon on Bin. Tarzan jumping forwards.
My laughter turns to shock and surprise. Atakan's up and around, but Tarzan, when you name yourself like that, you know you're trying to be the king of the jungle. He has been one of the very best in the world for a very long time.
I think BLG are luckily in a position where they know that the shred from Atakan is scary enough that AL won't go towards it easily. Knight, does he have to go over the wall? No, yes he does, but not with the ultimate, who has that Q instead. Hope really scary though. He's very, very far ahead on the Core Gear champion, which we haven't seen do as well recently. Tarzan could fly over the wall now. There is a flash from Knight.
Oh, he just uses Q. Do they want to go for this Fate Sealed is burned early? Gets him out to safety, unbinds his soul, tries to get a Spirit Cleave off, but we'll have to reset now.
All he does, he's doing that Spirit Cleave for the last minion, but after that point he's like, well, I've had to use my ultimate, that's a bit annoying. Good play from Tarzan to use that Fog of War. Again, anyone's legend playing much better around the map to catch people out of position. You can see that BLG don't quite know where it's safe to be.
Try to find pockets of visions that anyone's legend don't have control of, because you saw that roam there. Tarzan got to walk all the way over to Wolf Pit, unspotted and threatened Knight.
Whereas you compare this to Shanks, who knows that there's a threat to someone being in that side lane brush, doesn't walk close to it. You know, Shanks knows where he's safe to be. Elkanon are rumbled. They are not able to...
The top laner.
Yeah, well, not in this case. Shanks is dead. Yeah, knew he wasn't safe around that bot bush, knows where he's safe to be, and keeps a hold of his gold lead.
I think one of the things you'll need to check in general, viewers, across the course of this series, is how immaculate anyone's legend are about setting up the vision, about roaming into the jungle, and setting up control of the map. Caught BLG out several times this series and last series just by good warding, making angles much more challenging than they need to be. Tarzan again in the bush, not spotted, and can be on a very dangerous angle.
Still a level up on Beitron, who's had to drop some farm as Zale have gone into their jungle. They're trying to find some vision call. Good combo by Shanks.
And she's stepping forwards, but Shanks gets out of safety between worlds. The turnaround is brutal. Equalizer, solid enough. Shot, the shield coming on through from the locket. Back end though, Tarzan, Flandre, so deadly, needles galore. It is absolute witchcraft as Elk is trying, but he finally goes down. They can't bring it as Knight misses the Fate Sealed. All he finds at the end of that skein of fate is the scissors that cut them.
It's actually not that bad a fight for BLG comparative. They get a 3 for 2, and Knight manages to tag on to Shanks, so a lot of the damage goes down. AL still win the fight, but I think BLG give a lot more punch than anyone's legend were expecting. As we watch through that, again, I'm sure we'll get a replay, we can see that Shanks was initially engaged onto. Kyle breaks open the combo with what we call full contact team fighting, where your teammate is jumped on, so you jump them right back. And BLG managed to get Shanks down. However, there aren't enough HP bars for them to contest the objective. Atakan will go down. Dragon will go down. Watch this again. Shanks caught out early. He's caught out. It's a good combo onto him, even though he has that flash. But Kyle buys enough time to make sure that the combo isn't as clean. Knight actually does a good amount of damage here. Manages to make sure that Shanks goes low enough that he dies to the last tick of the equalizer.
Just about, and then Elk does go down at the end of it. I honestly thought On was about to fall as well here. His Knight tries, but can't quite get enough. On does survive. But they still lose the Atacant. They still lose the Dragon. Everyone else got to run away with blinking health bars. A close-ish fight is still not a 1-1, and Anyone's Legend expand their lead and control over this game.
5,000 gold lead is nothing to be sniffed at. Anyone's Legend, they've just been winning the early team fights. They've been better at setting up vision, better at setting up for every single objective. BLG, they've not been winning individual matchups hard enough to buy them that safe lease on life. And this is exactly what happened the last time that Anyone's Legend played against BLG. Was BLG couldn't win hard enough individually to make up for the difference in plays. Q cancelled.
Into the Fate Sealed, looking to bring down Tarzan, but he's just so damn tanky. They're getting out to safety, finally bringing to turn it around as Kyle misses the Mantle on the other side, but it means that Elk and Bin not in the fight right now. Should finally bring low Tarzan, done so. Elk, though, traded back. Hope also low, though. Burning out to the Equalizer, not quite in range, as Beitron blocked from getting over there by Kyle. All the while trying to Arctic Assault into the Baron Pit, trying to buy some time. Knight, low, has got a Q stack, may need to run a bit further. Twofold Hex goes wide, Immortal Shield, Bow proc, gets a Spirit Cleave. Weirding comes on down. Knight will not be able to run anywhere, as Shanks will eventually secure that kill.
BLG get a pick onto Tarzan, but they can't kill him quick enough. BLG don't have enough damage to make these quick picks, and a recall cancel onto Beitron. Maybe we'll see him into the death screen as well. It's not much he's been able to do this game. He'll go down, and Anyone's Legend, despite losing Tarzan, walk away with a 4-kill fight.
Now they get to immediately go back to the waves that are already shoving. Shanks with those 3 grubs can begin to look at this tier 2. They won't risk something like a Baron at this point. They are in full command in Anyone's Legend. Remember how the upper bracket went as well. The moment they got the leads in the mid game, their ability to take those fight wins and turn them into bigger advantages across the map was pretty terrifying.
Yeah. See right here, you know, the initial pick on Tarzan is good. You cancel out the Q, get good CC combo. Tarzan does use his ult to break a lot of that. So much tankiness with that Sundered Sky. The big issue for me is actually the fact that Elk just doesn't do damage. Elk has not done anything this game besides the first few levels. Now, at the top side of the map, get a good combo onto Tarzan to finally kill him. But you don't have an AD carry for cleanup. The fact this happened in their first series, remember, as well, when you had, yesterday I think it was, with the Ari Jhin, where Knight's going in for the big playmaking alongside the rest of his top side, but Elk on the Jhin at that point, something like 1-6, ended up on that scoreline, and really struggled. With Elk doing no damage, BLG looked like they're so toothless in the longer fights.
Back to life we go. Elk unable to get over that fight. That time it cost him a lot on. Likely to go down here. Not a lot that he can do. Beitron backs away. Tarzan, Vault Breaker forwards. He's certainly not backing away. Beitron trying to survive. The Equalizer is solid. Beitron surviving. Kyle, though, he's just about to survive as finally Hope brings low the Sejuani. Tarzan again stepping on forward tonight. Has to ult away. That gives room to cease and desist onto Elk, who can't get out to safety. Knight unbinds his soul, but permanently. Now Bin caught under his own tier 3. Zombies for a moment. Bin buys time, but I don't think it'll buy much time in the grand scheme of things. He'll leave the lane, but all the while, Anyone's Legend maraud through mid lane. Onto the Nexus turret. Blink, can you miss it? Game 1 is Anyone's Legends.
Anyone's Legend, a full team diff for them across BLG. Much better at vision control, much better at finding themselves the openings they needed to walk away with the victory. Anyone's Legend.
Skull. Hope want to run alongside it. He will go towards that Jhin that is so high priority right now.
It's good laning pick. So is the MF. I think Hope getting the Jhin at the end of the draft for Jhin Nautilus is a bit of a steal for Anyone's Legend, actually. I mean, yes, I know that the Jhin is not the best into stuff like the Pantheon or the Scion, because they can, you know, temporarily frontline you with the Pantheon or Pantheon E, or the Scion just permanently tanking because he's Pantheon. Jhin can be very long range, set up for follow-up combos on top of her own Rune Prison, on top of her hook. Anyone's Legend, if it goes around to early skirmishes again, I am quite worried about what that Jhin can bring to the table against BLG. And BLG, they are going to have to rely on Knight's Talir, which is one of his very best champions. Been on the Ambassador, and Overdogs, BLG unexpectedly recovering, and now having to recover in the series from 1-0 down.
A raucous crowd today. You love to see it and hear it, I suppose. Perhaps the better way to put that with the way that the Jayor chants work over here in the LPL. We'll look at the statistical analysis of when people are at their zenith of power. Anyone's Legend spiking in that mid game. The power of the globals and the first couple items really comes on through. And then later on, interestingly, a little bit more for BLG when the consistent DPS, things like the Ambassador Talia and Misfortune, becomes perhaps a little easier to manage some of those globals where it's much more possible to go that little bit more deep. But there we go. There's our look at the rooms. Phase rushes galore for the mid-jungle of BLG. Phase rush on the rise as well. No surprise there. In general, though, in terms of the CC, though, Kyle going towards the Aftershock on the Nautilus, nothing like the Glacier, which we do sometimes see on things like the Nautilus.
That can help trap people into the play, both for offense and defense. Shanks' rise is a champion which he's put a lot of time into. Knight on the Talia, though, you can say equally the same amount. Bin on the Ambassador, a champion which actually he struggled on a lot. This has not been his best champion. He's actually very much struggled to add this into his active playing pool, and he's been criticized for it, much like the Rumble. His first two picks of this series are not his specialty, on trying to get out of a potential hook angle from Kyle, and testing for that wave early on.
Too much found there. Few champions here you should keep your eyes on. Beige1's Poppy win rate, for example, quite impressive. Been on the Ambassador this split, also quite impressive.
I believe the one loss which Beige1 had on the Poppy's level 2's hit.
It's early spike on that one. A little bit of damage to the arm, but the Eclipse comes on. That's not the Eclipse. The Aftershock comes on down and keeps him nice and safe.
Hope missed the W, which means he wasn't rooted in place for the extra auto attack. Means that the trade will go fine for BLG. No junglers coming down for any shenanigans around Krugs or for poke under tower. Ward put down there just to make sure that Hope and Kyle are not going to get cheese ganked on the bot side. Beige1, of course, is going towards full build Poppy, where you hit level 3 and then
you're there. Congratulations.
Oh, does spot out that ward. Okay, not able to clear it in time, but they'll know it's there.
Nice pick on that one. Will give some knowledge for Beige1 to figure out how he wants to play. It's on the Lollipoppy, as you should be. The greatest skin in League of Legends history. I can't believe they removed the utter beauty that was the original splash out.
Yeah. Questions upon questions. Elkin on. Winning bot lane, we said, was a very important thing for them. Now, Beige1, he can clear this without going on to vision. As long as he doesn't step too far right. He hasn't done so far. Should still be out of vision. Now he is on it, but I guess he doesn't have as much of an option. Surely they could have just pinged that, though, and it would have been fine. Going in.
A little bit of a route. Flash on forwards. Hope gonna have to cleanse away as well. As on really sent that.
This is the LPL bot lane classic. You spend your summoners to get control, and that's exactly what they've done. By winning that bot side, Hope will have to recall, and that means that he won't be around to contend for something like a bot side scuttle. Tarzan wasn't going there anyway, but it does mean that BLG have control over the bot side of the map. Beige1 picks himself up, free scuttle.
Beige1 also has a ward up, so I'm imagining he'll look into the jungle, put down a ward on the Gromp to have an idea about when that spawns. He sells himself up some success. Bin really wants to get this wave shot, but would have theoretically had to be a bit wary as a dive. Potentially happening bot. There is no hope here quite yet. And that means that Kyle needs to flash away. In comes the deadly flourish, though! And he's going to turn it around. Beige1 needs to get the kill. No, Elk, not you as well! Oh, no!
BLG used to be the best bot lane diving team in the world, and now they have messed it up for the nth time as Shag solo kills Knight in the mid lane. BLG, they've been in so many finals, won so many titles in the LPL, but anyone's legend may be cutting that era so short.
They go for a dive and end up face planting concrete. And the Olympic judges out there are giving that one a negative score. Unbelievable fumble there. As Hope came back to lane just in time to hit the deadly flourish.
Losing 3 kills in the early dive is utterly catastrophic for BLG. You know, a team which have fought to recover their form into topside. It's been, we'll see Kyle on the top side of the map. What does he do here? You can't use all of those cooldowns there, mate.
Away a little bit here. Kyle now looking, can maybe look to play around this one. Beige1's also around, looking to potentially bait this one in. Kyle going to get the staggering blows, detonating smash, but Bin jumps away. All away from that one, but anyone's legend now up. 800 gold off the bot lane dive, and then of course, Shanks getting the kill against Knight. We'll start with the bot lane dive though.
You're going against the level 3 Aftershock Nautilus, who ends up interrupting the wall stun with the hook. Ends up hitting that midway through, which means that the wall stun, even though he runs into the W, ends up ignoring that CC, and then, of course, Elk overstays, the panic sets in. But the big play there is the hook to deny the big play afterwards. Flash over the shove, Shanks gets the solo kill in mid.
What an incredible play. And again, Shanks, there is something about turning up to finals against a player like Knight and taking it to him, not just being a part of the finals, but a winner of the finals. Going up against those players and beating them in the lane, being the better player. He was in game 1. He certainly is so far in this early stages here. It's a great thing. Got to do it for 3 games, though. But 2 out of 3 so far, looking good for the mid laner of anyone's legend.
No flash, so something to be exploited there. Knight has level 6, Shanks has level 6. Knight having flash and Shanks not could be something that BLG could use in one of these early skirmishes, which of course has been so important, as we've noted. On, hanging around mid lane. Kyle and Tarzan doing the same. Dragon has spawned. AL, again, first to the objective, setting up. Beitron and River, though. And Kyle doesn't have flashes now. Potentially, Beitron could look for a fight.
Nice dodge. Jensen onto Kyle before the upshot comes on down, but over comes the Deadly Forest. It's just wide. Raveled Earth now down. Flandre coming, could potentially ult in.
And Elk is not walking up to the play. BLG, once again, playing with fire around these objectives. AL know where the fight is coming a little sooner. Sun's coming down now.
Knight does have flash, will burn it. Now Flandre does get shoved back, get shoved into the wall after, but the hook after. A little bit of damage now onto Poppy, who may need to back away.
Wow!
We do get the kill, it's a 1-for-1, but that's the jungler dead on one side. It's on. Solo will not die to the zombie of Sion.
That's just a Knight Talia classic. Manages to get the flick onto Flandre, which leads to the CC under turret. Knight having that flash with Shanks Blue for the first blood himself means that BLG can turn around, not get Flash Rune Prism, get themselves an easy kill there, and BLG gets something on the board after that disaster in bot lane struck.
Get some gold for Bin topside, and that's nice. The only thing is, of course, it was Beitron that died at the same time, so they're still going to lose the dragon. So in some ways, anyone's legend at least get part of what they came for.
He did, but still, good play from BLG to get something on the one, and maybe the blue side aura can come back online. AL, great early games so far. Great jungle support play so far, and BLG not playing that precisely. That is often a big problem for them. If they're not threading the needle in those team fights, it can be a big issue for them. Flandre behind a decent amount of CS to bin now, and a plate down in that top side. Perhaps he on the Ambassador can showcase something that we haven't seen from him really on this champion so far in this year. On an Elk, hoping to Kyle go towards that mid lane, as all bot laners tend to eventually.
It's just like casting.
Worth noting as well, Tarzan just uses ult and Shanks in the bot, so we actually missed that. The Observer didn't catch that. Knight uses ultimate to escape Tarzan and Shanks. Really good there from Knight to buy both of those ultimates. Hopefully we get a picture-in-picture of what happened there, because that's huge. AL just use their first two big ultimates of the game in the global sense, and they don't get anything because Knight outplays them.
And they're going to get the grubs off the back of this as well. That's pretty significant. They can get some serious value there as Beitron gets to come on over, attack those grubs, feel happy about his choices there, and that's pretty good.
That's huge. We need to see a replay of that. I mean, Shanks is ahead a little bit of XP, and of course Tarzan is hanging around with Flash, with Knight doesn't have that right now. Shanks also has his coming back up, but BLG, it's funny, you mentioned this on the desk in terms of, you know, which teams prioritize resources to which people. I find it so interesting that BLG don't actually prioritize Knight. They really don't play through mid-jungle. They play through bot lane. They always play towards bot lane. So Knight is left on his own to do his own gymnastics. And right here, you know, in the mid lane, just died for that first blood, but pulls things back in that mid lane afterwards. And in the bot lane now, gets a big play, despite not having anyone else on his side of the map. That is just the thing, which Knight can sometimes bring to a team. Couldn't necessarily do that in game one, but right there bringing value.
Let's get some solid work there, and Knight has often been asked to just get the prio by himself and then join someone else. That kind of agency is important, but he takes that agency to then play for bot lane. It's that kind of play, and of course, when you have got players like Elkanon who are really willing to step into the ring and take the weight class fight and say, we're not going to play it safe, we're not going to play it secure, we want to brutalize, we want to traumatize, we want that fight. Elk does have Kyle in lane. I don't think he's in any danger here though. I just say that knowing who it is, and I get a little bit nervous sometimes.
True, yeah. Elk and Traffic, sadly, a combo which is well known at this point. Shanks holding up that wave. And now Tarzan's ultimate, is it back up or just, I think it's just coming back up. It was the first rank of it, so it's quite a long cooldown. Means that Knight should feel okay trying to reset that wave.
Shout out to Elk here, though, who's been farming up a storm here on the perfect CS mark, pretty much. His hopes had to drop about 20 or so, which is pretty good work there for the Misfortune.
Which is important. Is there a cull on either side? No. And this is the replay we saw in that. Ults out, double ultimates blown, really good reaction time. If you press that any later, you will get CC'd down. Knight buying those two first ultimates of the game, actually very important. Gives BLG some room to not fight, get towards their items, and maybe go towards those early skirmishes with a bit more bang for their buck, which they couldn't get last game.
Knight gets that last bit of farm under the turret. Roaming on over here to try and defend Knight, aware that a dive might be a possibility. I think as a result of being spotted on the way by that ward that Kyle put over the wall. not lead to too much
Well,
more.
speaking-
Gold is relatively even at this point. Dragon in a minute and a half.
Yeah, speaking of those wards, but look at the red side wards on the from Anyone's Legend. They have just lit up that bot side of the map like a Christmas tree. Anyone's Legend are by far the best vision control team within the LPL. They are the best objective setup team within the LPL, and BLG, they're not specialists at that. In fact, they weren't even specialists at that last year. What they are is so good individual players that sometimes it doesn't matter. But what's happened this year has been that BLG don't have been as the best top player in the world candidate as he was at that point. And they don't have Elkin on the all cylinders either. I do actually think Knight is still playing extremely well, but even then his early lane hasn't been as successful either as we've been seeing. And it means that BLG, where they are so creative and successful in their skirmishes, are outvalued by good setup from teams like Anyone's Legend. And that's one of the reasons why they haven't been as dominant this year as last.
Remember, we were talking about that last game as well, saying, look, every time they come into a fight, Anyone's Legend still have good wards around that BLG have not fully swept out. It leaves some problems with that one ward right now, very deep, that at least BLG have managed to get rid of some of them in the setup for this Dragon. 20 seconds off. Knight could reset, has got the teleport, so can maybe afford to have that later back. Elk already with the Bloodthirster, looking to fight for lane control in mid lane ahead of that Dragon.
It's nice that he was body blocking the Jin W there, actually saying, look, I'll heal up with the Bloodthirster. Walking forwards again, getting that slow. Flandre is now walking down the river. Beatron will spot Tarzan. Tarzan holds his W.
Tries to buy some time, and in comes the curtain call. Beatron should be okay here, I think. The hook goes wide as it's flashed away from. Public Execution also has to be flashed from, as well as Shank's going to flash out of the rumble. In comes Flandre with the ultimate, trying to find an angle. The Keeper's Verdict, the Weaver's Wall, everyone's assembling. Ondo is left out to dry, the first member to fall. Bit into the backline, makes it a trade.
Tarzan
into the backline, Beatron now in danger, but shuts him into the wall! Wonderful heroic charge, a 4v3. Flandre trying to buy some space. The health bar's a little bit dicey on both sides.
BLG turn up to the early fight and actually win it this time just about. I think it was a 1-for-2. Ongoing down, Tarzan and Kyle on the other side. Flandre forced the flash. Knight on a much better arrival timer. This is why globals are so important. Last game, when Knight was pressing the teleport at this time in the game, he wasn't there early enough to impact the fight. With the Talia ultimate, he can turn up, impact the play, and Anyone's Legend have to fight for the hands diff, not just for the better setup. BLG do come away for the best for that bit.
Still got to do it all over again, and this time there are no flashes to dodge the skill shot, which everyone had to do last time out. Felt like there was a lot of very panicked and very necessary flashes to avoid some of that initial CC.
Also worth noting, Elk didn't use the bullet time in that last play, which is why they feel like they can walk up into the 2v3. Knight back down into that bot side. Teleport coming through from Rise to hold that bot wave. Dragon spawning. And yeah, the big ultimate is the bullet time. Nothing else available.
Goes the Zenith Blade on trying to start things off. Decimating Flash comes on down. Bins here, and that means Kyle is just K. I was going to try and make that one a
KO'd.
KO'd. That's exactly the
Kyle
phrase I
is
was looking
KO'd
for.
as he goes down for the second time in as many minutes. BLG, just the blue side aura. Should they be winning with this comp at the game? I don't see how it's any different from the last side of it. Besides that global, BLG just getting that more precision in their initial foray into the fights. And Anyone's Legend, despite the great vision control on the bot side of the map, they can't outplay. Beatron on the Poppy, it's a specialist pick for him. Does find Tarzan and can't get the W onto his own stun as well. But he knows his teammates are here. And the globals come through. Yes, the Rise comes through, but I don't think he realizes that Bin is around the corner, so he immediately flashes out. And then it's Knight with the global instead coming through, which actually makes a bigger difference. This E is utterly disgusting. Stuns up Kyle, ends up controlling that area of the field, and it forces Anyone's Legend into trying to split the fight around that unraveled Earth, and it leaves Tarzan out to dry as BLG quickly pick up the disengage.
That is about as close a flash stun as you get to perfect from Beatron as I have ever seen as Tarzan lands. He gets to do nothing there. Really, really good play. Even lands a fantastic Keeper's Verdict to knock Flandre away out of a decimating smash and remove the front line so they can kill off some members. It's really good work.
So BLG get themselves their first dragon. They get themselves a good fight in the early game. They have a minimal gold lead. Elk having control over the AD carry matchup, huge. Remember last game on the Lucian, he was a non-factor. He had 3 levels of the game where he was a champion, and beyond that he achieved very, very little for BLG. This time on the Misfortune, 1,000 gold ahead already. Hope may be in a position where he can't follow up nearly as easily. Yes, he's a Jin, he'll have a base level of utility, but Anyone's Legend need to be aware that they have a front line, yes, in the Scion and the Pantheon, but their follow-up damage is not as ahead as it was last game.
There's a lot of ways for BLG to slip past the front line. Keeper's Verdict, Weaver's Wall, Ambassador Ultimates, Leona. Lots of things that make it quite tricky. Speaking of, there's the Solar Flare. And sometimes you can just blow up the front line, especially when it's fake front line like Nautilus. Elk gets the kill, 2, 1, and 3, shut back onto Tarzan. Beitron can't quite get the stun, but does land the Keeper's Verdict knocker. Beitron needs to run away with the phaser. In comes Sion. Beitron going to go down as they begin to turn this one around. On finds his Zenith Blade. The curtain's being called, Knight looking for angles, and BLG have overplayed this one. Elk executed by the curtain call.
Beitron can't get the wall stun, and it means that anyone's legend can turn around onto the Poppy, who's then out of position. BLG, initially a great pick onto the flashless Nautilus, but it leaves them out of position when they go too far again. Anyone's legend now cutting that gold lead we were just saying was quite important for BLG into basically nothing. BLG a reality check there. They're not getting free lunch here against anyone's legend.
Really good counterpunch from Flandre as well with the ult to turn that one around. As they add in the curtain call, you can see the retreat angles from BLG. If they do have to run away, get very limited if there's still ultimates up from anyone's legends.
Initial play here, very good. Good stun onto the Nautilus. This is a free kill, especially with a follow-up. The Rise ult does bring into position more, though. This is the play which actually baits them in. Knight hits a great unassisted shove onto Tarzan, and Beitron misses the wall. If he gets that wall, I'm pretty sure they just get a kill onto him, and it's out as well. But because they don't get that, opens up an opportunity for Flandre to ult into the backline. On doesn't body block the Sion ult, means that Elk goes down. He did have his ultimate during that play too, but he couldn't play it for the threat of the cancels. BLG walk away bloodied.
Their best moment, but they've still got the opportunity to drop the Herald in mid lane after the reset. All of those globals being down means the reset options and engage options pretty limited. Good steadfast presence, the engage. Here comes the Grand Starfall, looking to turn this one around. Flash on forward, shunt away, blow up Beitron, but Tarzan throws at the Aegis Assault. No cleanse on Elk, means he has to flash over the wall. Flash for the depth charge, Elk goes up into the sky. Flash over from home, means that he goes down as well. Wonderful set of picks from anyone's legend.
And while all this is happening, BLG don't even kill the mid lane outer turret. They're not in position for the Tarzan ultimate to rip their battle lines apart. And once again, Elk goes down without using his ultimate. A W flashed away from Knight as he's just trying to pick up the pieces of the mistakes of his teammates. Elk out of position, Bin not teleporting into the play, not thinking it was worthwhile. Anyone's legend, off the back of Tarzan's ultimate and Shanks as well, get a huge play.
They fully committed to taking the turret, not necessarily to the fight that was happening around him, and it really cost them there.
Means that the first tower goes to anyone's legend, and they get themselves the feats of strength too. And in this kind of game, gives some extra tankiness from the whatever shoes are built up by Tarzan and Flandre. That could be a big difference in the initial kill. No, the play here, this is okay, but they're just not prepared for Tarzan to come flying through in the way that they were. Beitron walks, he gets minion blocked by the Herald into the Nautilus passive. And then there's some anti-synergy. He tries to dash out using Tarzan while that pushes him out of the Solar Flare. Elk, his positioning is very poor. I think he just needs to, as soon as the hook lands, position a little further back so he can get a good ultimate without that threat of being cancelled. Big mistake there by Elk. And now his gold lead, which was 1,000 in the advantage, now even.
Great plays from Hope, gets him that moment. Fantastic stuff from them. Setting up around the Dragon, which this time, of course, anyone's legend got free chance to set up around, and that's pretty scary. Give a little note to Beitron there. I think what he also tried to do is shove Tarzan across the unraveled earth to kind of buy a little bit of space and time in terms of just CCing him across that and give Elk a chance to run away. It didn't quite work, but I see the idea.
And once again, Shanks having a magnificent game. While I don't think this game is the fault of Knight, and I think Knight is playing well, Shanks is using his power very effectively. Knight, I think, just looking at his team, the setup for the objectives, trying to see what he can do. Teleports in, BLG want to fight.
Vince behind, looking to turn him around. Big knockup though, and the front line is just split off. Does not rest of BLG here until just now. Their bullet time finally comes on out. Hope just about survives. It's been caught up between multiple members. In comes Knight, trying to find his way to Hope, and misses. Finally gets the threaded volley and gets that pick. The Weaver's Wall coming on down. They got the Dragon all the while. Beitron can't get out of the pit. Elk tries to find an auto or two out, but will finally go down at the back end of it. Knight in a 1v1 with Shanks, but he's got a Seraph shield, and the decimating smash from across the water alongside the Comet Spear helps bring him down.
Anyone's legend find a moment to take a fight where Elk is out of position again. The misfortune bringing so little value to BLG. Elk late on the bullet time, not sticking around for the cleanup despite the fact that he has the 2 items and maybe could have gotten an extra kill or 2 at the end of it. Elk having a poor final so far between the Lucian and the Misfortune is being picked up by anyone's legend, particularly Shanks, Tarzan, and Flandre in this fight. Getting a snap engage, they do see the teleport coming behind them and find a good pick onto the front line, but look where the Misfortune is. Nowhere close. Doesn't get a big bullet time. The CC is already basically gone by the time they're into the play, and all you're doing is putting a couple of pepper shot into the back of a Scion. No, Knight picks up the kill onto Hope. He's fine enough just throwing that Q out. But the real difference is the Misfortune is just not bringing value. They don't have DPS if Elk is not in position.
It was a little late for that play. Knight goes down as well. It ends up being a 4-for-1. At the very least, BLG did get the dragon, which is something. But that is it. That is the one concession they get for this. And back onto the raft here. And again, the damage from Misfortune, not bad there again. But imagine it being there 2 seconds before.
No, and that's what you need. And it's not the cleanup damage. And a lot of the damage is into the Scion, who doesn't care about it.
Yeah.
Elk needs to step up. Ale, if you want to continue your era of dominance, Elk, this AD carry, needs to step up. I do think that Bin on the Ambassador is definitely someone I need to see more from too. Gets a good dive there. Perhaps he can do something more now. He's at that 2 items. But Elk is the big missing ping here for BLG so far in these first 2 games. He's not providing the damage, especially with the gold leads he's been given.
Keep our eyes on it. Again, the Ambassador for him has really improved this split. We both kind of called out that it has stepped up quite a lot, but it'll need to do a little bit better than that. And honestly, I just need to see BLG more on the same page. Bin TPing in while Beta1 and On going in, but a little bit before Knight and Elk get there. And Elk, as we said, a little bit late. I know obviously the setup was a bit slow because they kind of failed in the mid lane just before it, but those desynchronous moments in a finals will hurt you against anyone's Legend, who are the best well-oiled machine in the LPL.
And a note in chat as well. Level lead on mid lane. Shanks has gone for the Rod of Ages, has been given more side lane farm than Knight, because Knight doesn't have someone defending him, so he's had to drop waves while Knight is under threat of double globals. It's meant that he's had to drop waves, and BLG haven't been able to set up the map well enough. Look here, Knight has to drop off this wave because things are happening in topside. Shanks doesn't, and the Rod of Ages giving him an extra level is really becoming problematic, and here comes the Realm War.
Gonna try and play this to get the Keeper's Verdict, which isn't bad. Now Shanks potentially in danger. Shoved into the Solar Flare. Nice angle. He might be level 16, but I don't know whether he's a 3v1 champion quite yet. Flash over the wall from Knight, but he starts missing the threaded volley. Finally throws on a second set of him. Will finally get a bit more when he's going or not. Get the kill until just now. Flash on forward with a shield vault. Brings him down. They're going to try and turn Throtters out. Turns up, and there's a dead line, a depth charge, and a very dead Misfortune. Meets the wrong end of the diving lines as a triple kill comes on into Hope.
Anyone's Legend with the double globals piss the heart of BLG. The early skirmishes at the start of the game look good for BLG, but time after time, Tarzan and Shanks have pulled themselves the double globals, and BLG have not had adequate answers. Once again, no bullet time is played in that fight. Elk struggling to get any damage down, and Anyone's Legend are more than happy enough to take split fights using the Rise, using the Pantheon to close down targets with single target damage time and time again. Initially, great Poppy ultimate, but there is an ultimate from the Pantheon to come back in. You use the Weaver's Wall to bring him back in. A slide into the Weaver's Wall is good, and also Shanks has pulled out a play again with the Unraveled Earth. But Knight does get enough damage down, but by the time it's come down, the Pantheon's back into play.
And by the time he lands damage, he's missed 2/3 of his threaded volleys. It was so challenging, and then Elk finally turns up, and it's too late.
You know, when you get the Rise passive and the phase rush is so fast, On's caught out again, Shanks will kill him.
Nowhere really to run. Beishwan as well now caught up the lane. I think they were trying to help get some shove for the side of Beishwan and the rest of the lane as they're going to get Bin out at the very least. He retreats. Beishwan's trying to run, but Ware has got a flash, so you think he's going to need to be able to burn it. With a wonderful drift. Beishwan's still really fast for the Dead Man's Plate, though. He's running really, really quick. Dun, 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 dun. Gonna try and get out of here as fast as he can. Mission impossible. Where can he get to? Should better keep going through the jungle. Over comes Kyle. He's still really quick. I think he can just keep going.
And much like the Mission Impossible theme tune, he wished he was 5-4. Sadly, 2-6, mainly going towards 2-7. Misses the ultimate, but Kyle also misses the hook.
Lands the depth charge. Is it going to be enough?
No, the Pantheon ult's coming in now. It's just coming off cooldown. Here comes Knight.
Another depth charge. The Deadly Flourish buying some time. The Weaver's Wall comes on down. Flash on out. The Ignite on him, but he gets out to safety. Multiple onto Beishwan. Roams all the way from by his own gromp, round the map in a circumference, and gets out alive.
It's just a Yordle with a hammer and apparently a V8 engine. Gets out to safety as Anyone's Legend can't close him down, but it doesn't make this a good play for BLG. Dragon goes over to Anyone's Legend. Bin will use the 3 grubs on top side to get themselves a tower there, so it is something, I suppose, but Anyone's Legend a step ahead. They're getting themselves much closer to big plays. Flashed in range for the W2, which doesn't lead to the kill. Now that's something which BLG perhaps could use, but I don't think they saw him flash, so they'd have to somehow, well, they don't know that he hasn't got flash, which is the problem.
Keep our eyes on it. 7-1-7 on the gym, by the way, is Hope. He is absolutely terrifying right now. He's in a massive, massive spot. So, second dragon secured. Of course, BLG, despite the debacle around the third dragon, did pick it up. So it's only 2-2 in terms of the dragons. They give that last one up, but Beitron getting out alive buys you some space. And BLG need to stabilize their 4,000 gold. The last few fights, the lead that Shanks has individually, he's level 17. Knight still 30. It's a full level advantage right now.
But you look at what's happened. Every time his Knight has gone to a side lane, AL have just chucked people towards his lane and threatened with the globals. Anyone's Legend, as a team, are keeping Knight down because BLG don't have other people who are presenting win conditions. The 1,000 gold lead on the Ambassador is not winning the game in the way that Bin with a 1,000 gold lead would have done in years past or on different champions potentially too. Knight has been hard focused by Anyone's Legend on a macro sense. Shanks has been getting the free farm. Knight hasn't. And on the other side, Bin has been picking up the farm for BLG. He is the one with the golden pocket now. He must do something to bring BLG back into parity.
Going for a very aggressive build here, so I was going for the last Whisper item completion. Third really wants to be able to threaten this Scion, threaten the armor builders. Turn this around as in goes Kyle. Realm Warp behind. In comes the Grand Starfall. Another wonderful flanking engagement. Elk's trying to run cleanse, but to where? He can't keep walking away. Bloodthirst healing not enough. Finally, Bin comes Bin. Shanks goes golden. Deadly Flourish. Roots him in place. Try to turn this one around. Bin needs to get Battle with Beitron back to it, but they've already lost their mid and bot lane. Flandre holding the front line as this massive bulwark, a titan of HP, as Hope zeroes in on another kill.
And Bin doesn't even pull the ultimate. Elk doesn't even pull the ultimate. BLG, their top and AD carry, not getting any value in the fight. As Shanks and Tarzan once again open up another angle with their ultimates. Anyone's Legend have been so good at uprooting the misfortune. The bullet time has never been a problem for them. Anyone's Legend coming in through the upper bracket have never looked better. They've been so good at choosing these fights. Kyle, yes, gets CC'd up, but who cares? You're putting damage into the Nautilus, and everyone is clumped up for the Rise to start machine gunning through. The Poppy ultimate, sure, okay, pump someone out of the fight, but once again, you just don't have the damage to capitalize on the brief numbers advantage.
And Bin is turning up now. His teleport was so late. It puts him in such a problematic position as they end up with this Ambassador coming, who's supposed to be the carry, not doing anything, and they just get to keep walking for more and more kills.
BLG have that gold on top lane, has a Cyrildas now. Maybe you can one-shot someone in the backline, looking like it's going to be harder and harder to do so. Last year, or in 2023, I would trust Bin to carry from this lead on a different champion, like a Camille, like Kennen, on one of these big carries, Aatrox, of course, the lethality ones which he played before. On the Ambassador, it's not been his best champion. This year has not been his best year. And now you've got Knight who's behind 3,000 gold because Anyone's Legend have stopped in getting any side lane farm. Elk is behind and he's not been able to pull a bullet time. Who does BLG turn to? This is what BLG have been put into by Anyone's Legend. A great strategy from a team which many people may not have heard from because they have never gone international before. You will hear them after today. They will be going to MSI. And with Tarzan potentially picking up his very first title here on the roster, this could be a historic moment for a team that will go down in history from the LPL as one of their representatives.
You have a 3.5 item, level 18 Rise. He is a monster. Something about a doing CS hack out there on the Rise. In comes the Solar Flare. Bullet time is good. Maybe this is a moment. Kyle flashes out. Shanks goes golden. A multi-man depth charge buys some time. In comes the curtain call. They finally bring off Shanks. Elk's body blocking for his members. Will not be able to get away to the Weaver's Wall. Interrupts Hope's ult. Trying to get the foot shot. It's just a regular one. And it puts people up. In comes Flandre. Find an angle. Elk just about to move. But a flash of one of the shield fall. Decimating smash. Bin into the backline. Finally brings down at least the AD carry.
Bin missed his ult in the play too. It's just a lot of people stood in front of him and he misses that crucial public execution. BLG get a great play from Knight and Elk in the CC, but they don't have the gold, and Bin misplays in one of his most important fights in the game. Anyone's Legend, they do lose 3, and it's worth more to BLG because there are shutdowns involved in that too, but Bin must do better with these items going into late game. We'll watch the replay. The initial combo is great. The 2-man Solar Flare and the Zenith Blade rooting them in place into the double flick back is insane. This mechanically is so hard to pull off. But Shanks has the Zhonya's, and as we'll watch later, Shanks gets the machine gun back, and Bin, as he comes into the play, misses his ultimate as he's delaying Flandre on the other side. Knight stops the Jhin ultimate, which saves them, and Bin just misses. Bin just misses. Maybe he can't do that. They potentially could have flashed onto Hope as well earlier. Chooses not to. Bin A poor series from him too between this and the Rumble.
Tarzan, lethal at the back end of that, managing to stun up Elk, who is desperately trying to heal up under the turret, gets him, gets the red buff here. Keeper's verdict about to come on down, knocks 2 away. Tarzan immediately cleansed out.
Bin misses again!
Bin missed again! The only thing public is the humiliation. Tarzan in danger. Bullet time! Grey angle! Blows up Shanks! Finally is beginning to work on through. The curtain call, though, is still absolutely lethal from Hope. Managed to get some damage down, doesn't quite kill off the people they're hoping for. Maybe not as lethal as I thought it might be. Flandre survives. Still a wonderful kill for BLG, an important one, so they can head potentially over towards this dragon. Knight gets hit.
He's low HP, the W misses from Hope, but BLG mechanically still such a threat. Knight on the Talia getting shove after shove, and Elk finally getting a bullet time. You would have hoped that would have been the play if you're a BLG fan to see them back into the game, but they can't stick around to contest the dragon. AL, despite losing Shanks twice in the last 2 fights due to the good shoves from Knight, cannot get themselves the objective afterwards. 3rd dragon for AL, threatening Mountain Soul.
Elk has not had an easy time of it, but this was a really good moment. They get the red buff. Good keeper's verdict. Knocked 2 away again. We've seen a lot of good keeper's verdict by some diamonds. Elk ends up blast coning awkwardly there, but this bullet time is fantastic in a second. Really cuts across absolutely everyone. The seismic shove after, and Shanks gets eviscerated. His Zonya's still on cooldown, I think, from that last play.
Yeah, it's quite quick after that last one, and BLG finally finds some terrain where they can get a bullet time uninterrupted.
Take a breath. Soul point was still secured by anyone's legend, just a note. I know we kind of talked about it, but I do want to reiterate there's still that win condition for all that moment on screen. It was nice pomp and ceremony for BLG. The substance to it is a shutdown, sort of, and of course the dragon. That's it. Going over to anyone's legend, which is a big deal.
BLG, can they do that again? They do have the armor pen onto Elk, going towards with rapid fire cannon next. You also have the void staff on Knight. And Shanks can't get a level lead now because he's max level. If BLG don't lose, they can stay in the game and get back some of those resources. Anyone's Legend done very well to get far ahead. I think that the way they shut down Knight by continually forcing him to drop waves is so crucial. But can that be the game breaker? Bin now at 4 items, 2,000 gold ahead. He's not been the game changer so far. Again, he has such a large amount of resources given to him. Can he make that into something? W lands.
Trying to face check the keeper's verdict, interrupted base one, can't run away, doesn't have the flash. The bullet time though, at least gets one. Flandre going on forward. Weaver's Wall can't quite trap him in the play.
1 for 1 support for jungle, but the jungler being down with dragon spawning in 20 seconds does pause BLG for a little while. Lots of ultimates used from BLG, not from anyone's legend though on the other side. They didn't even use the depth charge. Flick back, Bin. Oh, he's walked too far forward. He's walked to Tarzan and Shanks. Bin!
The Rune Prison and the deadly flourish. He goes down. That gold lead feeling ornamental, bluntly.
Bin is the tool to get back into this game. Dying cheaply like that really hampers BLG's comeback potential. Shanks has ult, flash, and Zonya's. No real chance to do much about that. And Bin, the 4 item Ambassador being down, that'll be what signals the Baron to go over towards anyone's legend.
Baron again. Anyone's legend going to head over towards it. There's still a few seconds left on Base 1 of this late in the game. It will go down swift enough.
Easily taken by anyone's legend. That'll be a Baron buff which sees them over towards the Mountain Soul spawn as well. BLG trying to recoup whatever gold they can behind 7,000 gold with the Baron gold you get from actually taking it. Cashing in. BLG do have 4 items on Misfortune now. 1 last item to be built up. Shanks has a death cap though. God, this is going to be so much damage. If he gets 1 moment to shoot, that could be it. Hope has flash and cleanse. Not forced to blow either of them yet.
Trying to find an angle here. Elk coming on over, but that's just Knight flashing away. Does get the face rush out. In they come with the TPs. Ongoing low. Finally, a public execution lands only on the Flandre, but he takes a lot of damage at this point from the Ambessa. Level 17. Rune prisoned again. Flash on forward. The double seismic shove. Bin trying to heal. Elk still now turning up. Beginning to auto. Brings down Shanks. Tarzan looking for an angle to Elk. Speared through the heart. The Queen of Bilgewater turned down into dust. Flash for the heroic charge into the seismic shove, but Tarzan ages himself, buys some time, trying to jump away, will likely fall here, and they get another.
How do BLG keep doing it? Knight can fly over for a double kill for Knight's Talia. And anyone's legend, they may have gotten ahead in the game, but they haven't taken the Nexus. The Baron buff falls off as BLG outplay with a series of great individual picks and peeling back around the Talia and the Ambassador to do the damage.
Oh, anyone's legend, you didn't think it would be easy, did you? Let's have a look at this play again.
I can't believe that BLG are doing this. For so long, they've gotten away with bad early games, but surely not in the finals here. A shove onto Flandre. Knight escaping this combo against Shanks is absolutely critical. Puts down the Unraveled Earth, and that buys time for the teleport to come through. Elk gets onto Hope and wins the 1v1, and Knight no longer has flashes to be afraid of. He can get huge shoves into the backline, buying time for Bin and the rest of his team to make a difference. Elk gets gunned down by Shanks, who doesn't get the body block from Beichuan. It doesn't want to walk close towards that Pantheon. Leaves Knight to clean up. BLG somehow do it.
Elk has not had a fun time on this misfortune. I don't even think it's necessarily the mechanics. It's just how do you even position to find bullet times this game? But as the game has gone on, he's started to find more and more angles. A big fight for him, starting off with Chunky Cope, finishing with killing him.
I was actually wondering whether that teleport would be punished there, but it is Flandre's. Dragon spawning in 10 seconds. Remember, AL don't have the Baron buff now to help them, and BLG are there first to the fight. Flandre is goddamn tanky, but Knight does have a death cap now, so his damage will be very hard if he can get some good DPS onto the Scion.
Baron 1 earned them 1,200 gold alone. This one loses them 700. Onto the Dragon we go. Flandre's coming on in. They want to secure this one. Soul point for BLG. In comes the Grand Starfall. Gonna try and turn on the Tarzan on solo. He's still alive. They're gonna try and take him before he gets in and steals it. Someone secure the Dragon. They do it, but around the rest of the play. Shove back. Elk in the pit. Doesn't have flash. Nowhere to go. He's gone. Bit of the backline, but it's onto Scion. He can't do that much there. Knight needs to try and TP out. Needs to find a way and does escape. All the while, Bin in the rack of the fight will give a triple kill over to Hope.
Anyone's Legend lose the Dragon, but they win the fight in spades. Beichuan trying to clear the wave to make sure that Anyone's Legend can't end the game on this push. And I think he will have done just enough, question mark. We shall see. Shanks, no flash, does have a Realm Warp to potentially put the one minion further towards the Nexus, and that's exactly what they do. They want to try and close things off. Knight tries to wall off the wave, but it's too late.
We're going to have 20 seconds still on Elk coming on up. I think they could just end the game. A momentary comeback is immediately turned into the unstoppable onslaught. Flandre puts on the afterburners and careens into BLG's hopes of coming back in this game. 2-0, Anyone's Legend, a step from glory.
BLG will now have to reverse sweep to get themselves their type. Milio instead can cleanse out of the Skarner ultimate. Very good against the Skarner. I like this. Not many people playing the Milio right now. BLG, some comfort picks again. Elk's Ezreal. On has some great karma gains. Knight, one of the best Silases of all time, and Bin, a Jace Maestro. Truly. Hey, Mikari, good to see you. And thanks for everyone who's watching in chat as well. We couldn't do this without you. Obviously, teaming up with LPL English today. Great to cover this with some, people who really care about the LPL and love bringing it to you as much as we do as well. I think Anyone's Legend walk away with a better composition again. BLG, they have picked in another composition where it hinges by their strategy. Anyone's Legend on match point. 3 match points. Let's say the Gyos. Messy Gyos. BLG, you heard that close to the microphone. It's getting a little bit more scrappy there now. Anything interesting? Hope going towards the teleports. So is Elk. Both AD carries bringing an extra global. Means that they can take some poke. And then survive past that point. Thank you, Sam, for rejoining. We have a Civ and Milio bot lane for Anyone's Legend. Knight. Oh, Knight, buddy. You need to be very careful. Someone's going to walk through that. He'll see them now. He'll start the E. Stun down. Oh, Knight in game 3. Match point. Goes for an emote battle against Hope and dies for first blood.
Baited, outsmarted. It was not an honest fight of emotes. It was a knife in the dark, walks into the bush blind, and there was so many enemies waiting for him.
Knight, why did you dip out of that brush? The level 1 prep from Anyone's Legend, leaving Knight stranded there. Anyone's Legend, a first kill, and it goes towards Tarzan on the Wukong. Tarzan, who has been such a force of nature for Anyone's Legend, the general of their team. The Q misses from On at the level 1-2, not well scouted out by Elk and Kyle. This bot lane pick for lane dominance, On missing that first Q of the game could be important.
Well, Anyone's Legend with the scaling of the Civ Emilio. You got a Wukong and an Ornn in front of it. The Annie to help start things up and try and keep this Silas corralled and under control. Double poke from BLG. Alongside that Ezreal Karma. We said, look, bot lane, get agency. That'll do it. That's the shove they might well require.
But if you get towards level 2, Hope starts to unlock stuff like Spell Shield. Could do that at the level 2 mark if you want to just absorb the next skill shot. Q lands this time, but not onto 2 people. That's the gold standard you want. Level 2 missed. Of course, you're not going to get that first.
Oh.
Knight at least not blowing flash in the early stages. That Sylas needs to do an awful lot of work here. I feel like a lot of this game you can write down to team diff, but that kind of early laning mistake, it's all on Knight there, actually. The solo kills in lane. It's not like Beitron's had ever really given anything to his lane. Knight's just said, no, I'm just going to do it myself. Andre, great trading here.
Playing out very well, and Ben, again, has not really been a factor. Got leads on the Rumble and then didn't impact team fights. Got leads on the Mbessa and then teleported late to every team fight or missed the public execution. He has been not on our screen, which is not what I ever want to say about Ben. I think in some ways he is perhaps sliding under some criticism from viewers and stuff, partly because he's just not been there.
No, Ben has had the blue number at the bottom of the screen, which is why he escapes some criticism. Of course, a lot of stuff hasn't been on screen, you're right. My problem is, Ben has never been this quiet before.
Yeah.
And for someone who's been given the resources that in a way that Knight hasn't, been missing the cannon there as well. Ben, yeah, he does escape some criticism because I think he's a fan favorite. I think he's a player which a lot of people have a lot of time for, of course. Been trading well in the early lane versus Flandre now, actually. But Ben needs to do more with the leads he's been given. BLG are giving him the leads, and he's not paying that back right now.
Not very well, at the very least. Skarner is the choice, of course, of H1, who is needing that tank option. It's not a bad pairing with things like the Sylas and stuff, but it's a relatively defensive choice. They are all coming mid.
On vision here is H1. So Shanks will know that he's not under real threat here. Recall completed. 10 CS lead now for Shanks 2. The E start from Sylas not the best versus the Annie. You want to start that Q against her if at all possible most of the time. And yeah, Beitron not exactly able to do that much there. Spell Shield activated on Hope. And the Milio gives you that increased attack range as well, which is nasty for a champion who's often gated by that.
Knight. A bit of a shove there, finding. And as Sylas, sometimes you just need to trade your health bar to shove the wave. It's the way of things. Do what you have to do to get a hold of those CS.
Shanks laning well against him, though. And this is something which is, very notable. Most laners in the LPL, mid laners, don't push Knight around in lane. Even on good matchups, he's fine. He'll survive through it. And I think that Anyone's Legend have really punished them for that. Knight very rarely loses lane, even up to an international level. He was blasting Faker in lane in Worlds Finals. Only really Chovy consistently outdeals with him in lane, even if it's not the specialty of Knight. It's just that Knight will always be in the game until he gets through to those skirmishes where he really makes his name. On walking forwards. Spell shielded on the W, I believe.
Part of the problem for BLG is while they've had some frenetic comebacks in later stages, it's the mid-game fights have been a bit ugly. Tarzan gets driven into a wall. I don't think we're going to see performance in
Level 6 close from Shanks.
Oh my god, Knight walked in against the petrifying birds and gets out okay.
Shanks gets the double stun. Beitron and Knight close to each other, and Shanks is just about to hit level 6, which is why I think Beitron and Knight wanted to play like that. Tarzan now walking over, but Tarzan wins this. He has the Phage already.
He's so scary. I think Beitron just to leave that camp alone. Will claim at least a couple of the small wraps, but that's it. Mid 2v2 looking a little bit dicey right now. Kyle in the river, trying to get a chunk onto Kyle, who eats a lot of damage on the Milio. Forced to back away, and the retreat pings come blaring out and saying, everyone, whoa, 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 whoa.
At least Elk is ahead in CS here, but they haven't... Look, when AL were winning the lane, it was unlocking early skirmishes and unlocking potential team fights for them. I don't think that's going to do the same thing for BLG here right now. Look, I think On has been very good on the Karma the last time we saw it versus Invictus Gaming. He was a force of nature, but no, Hope is okay eating a bit of a CS deficit. He has a teleport, he's a Sivir. It's not like you're going to unlock him away from waves. He can hoover up waves as soon as you hit 1-2 items. Both of them have the teleport. BLG, once again, struggling to find a strategy which gives them those early advantages which they can actually transfer into a win. Bin at least winning the individual matchup. He was given, the power pick against Flandre, and Flandre picking that tank pick in, happy to, take the L in the early lane and eventually just scale back up into fruition.
TP's come on forward. Hope is running the TP on the Sivir. On, speeds himself up, gets a decent jump onto Shanks. In goes Tarzan, gets hit by the renewal, actually. As On has been really aggressive with those tethers, the focus resolve and the renewal, depending on whether it's been mantrad or not.
Flandre with the spellbook, switching over to the Ghost to make sure he picks up more of the wave down the bot side on that reset. Was old tech, of course, when you used to get stuff like Ghost Rise, Ghost Syndra. They'd go towards that. Season 4 was a big thing for that. You'd teleport, you'd ghost around the map to roam and to pick up waves. Flandre now benefiting from the swaps of Anyone's Legend. Bot lane now too, actually. Anyone's Legend very happy to decide, let's go for the 2v1. Ornn's fine in that if they can, briefly. Push out another wave. Might even recall now and get another kind of swap around. Ornn, in fact, actually walking towards the top side of the map. Grubs spawning in 30 seconds, trusting that Bin won't be able to push in bot lane quick enough to make a difference.
Much so. Knight. Currently a bit of an awkward spot this game. Down a fair amount of CS. Shanks with the shove. The early 2v2s have been a little bit ugly for him, even if no one has died.
But look again, you know, Tarzan was protecting Shanks' lane earlier when it was frozen out. Flandre's doing it now. Look how much effort AL have said, look, we're just not going to let Knight make those big plays in these brief moments where he's frozen the wave. Shanks is getting a lot of resources from his team to protect Knight in those moments where he can briefly find those creative plays once you've overpushed.
H1's turned up a few times, but has struggled to get any value there, partly because the shoves come on board. Like, what do you do as the Skarner at this point? It's not that easy. Onn's roaming up the river a little bit, but again, Anyone's Legend have drafted, have set up to make sure that Knight's life is as hard as possible. He's not getting those individual leads BLG have often been reliant upon, especially when they then like to put effort towards bot lane and then, you know, fumble three-man dives or whatever, but that's besides the point.
Better in terms of objectives for BLG this time. They do get the 3 grubs again, much like they did in game 1. They have pushing lanes. They will be able to use those 3 grubs effectively. Raptors are taken away. Tarzan was already ahead because of that early kill. It's taking away Raptors, now taking with the red buff too, but this will potentially be a fight. Shanks and Flandre could roam over.
No smite from Beitron quite yet. Still on cooldown coming off just now, so buying a little bit of time should just about be in time in it.
Beitron gets it. Shanks was roaming over. Of course, Flandre has that power to call that ultimate from a very long range away. So Tarzan not getting the full camp steal that he was looking for, but not that much lost except a bit of time otherwise.
You've got the grubs, which is really good when you're running things like that Jace in particular into things like the Ornn. You can look to try and get value out of the turret shove, and that can become a bit of a wink on. Again, we have said we have been disappointed with how quiet Bin has been. It's not the only problem. We've been musing about them in general across the various breaks and the rest of it. But it is still a pretty fortunate state of affairs for BLG. This game, so far so quiet, with the exception of the unfortunate level 1 debacle from Knight. Beitron driving forward across away from the blast cone. Tarzan Cyclones are going to turn this one around. Beitron now flashing on out. Portugal coming on forward. That was a very awkward fight. Now they're in a 5v3 and they're losing 2 members. BLG, what was the thought process? Shank flashes over and disintegrates another member. Knight flashes out, finally turning up, but it's too late.
Why did BLG think they could take that fight? Elk is on the top side of the map, not bothering with this fight. Anyone's Legend pick up another 2 kills, quickly calling the bluff of BLG and say, we have the numbers. Elk doesn't even get to get that much value on top side because Flandre teleports back. Anyone's Legend out macroing BLG across the series yet again.
I think an interrupt that looks very sad as well. That is so frustrating. He doesn't have another charge, so can't knock him up with the volcanic rupture, but that's the end of it.
Elk not being at that fight. BLG, this is just capping off a string of bad macro decisions. Bin has teleported up, trying to catch up. Flandre does have flash.
We'll get the flash off Flogger, but there's no ult on this. Ornn could be in a lot of danger. I think they can keep hunting for this. Bin going to try and make this one work to the skies. Flashes over at least some. Can't quite get the auto.
Flandre is going to die here. It's just a question of how quickly. Onn coming up, no one else on his side of the map. The teleport from Bin will buy them a chance to get the kill and the plates after.
Bin trying to get the plates. Elk takes a lot of the damage. Onn gets the kill. It's easier that way. And we'll give that one over. Not necessarily the greatest target, but hey, work done. You've got the grubs and a wave. This can be a big moment for them.
Yeah, they can get a lot of gold off of turret plates now. Tarzan spotted on Vision. Beitron does have Impale.
For that one, gets the clone. Remember the last time we saw him into Wukong, hit the clone every single bloody time. It was really embarrassing.
He was playing the Vi in that game and altered the Wukong clone about 3 times, I think, importantly, in that last series. BLG getting a lot of gold, sharing it between Bin and Elk. We asked for them to get more resources to Elk, give him a more playable game. Potentially, this is the start of it. First turret taken for them, and that's a point towards their feats of strength. This is the bot side play. They spawn a lot of members here. I personally don't see the logic here. I think Beitron going forwards like this was never going to work out. Ornn obviously has the engage range too, and you're never bringing Elk down to this plate. He's not roaming. He doesn't have that teleport either. This is just, again, a little bit of panicked, desperate play from BLG.
I think they wrongly thought that the reset into that tier 1 bot side would complete, and it didn't, and they ended up in a ridiculous 2v4 scenario as Knight wisely, I think, decided not to come on over in retrospect. I think it would have been very messy and just given more over.
On, caught out again.
He potentially danger, speeds himself up, begins to get the impaled. Tarzan caught out, gets cleansed out by the Breath of Life. Breath of Life now down. Knight looking for an angle, doesn't quite find it. Over goes Elk, though, trying to find some moment. Hope really low. Elk had the flash at the back end of it, though. As the heals come on through, can't quite secure the kill.
Knight used his ultimate onto the Wukong clone, which meant he didn't get to steal a Cyclone either. Now, it doesn't actually end up changing anything because it wouldn't have given him the gap close he needed all the same. But you can see once again, Beitwan and On are massively getting outplayed by Tarzan and Kyle across the map. They are the ones getting caught, and they can't cash the checks, which their roams are starting to write. BLG, lose that flash on Elk, as you were saying there too. And my worry is, you know, this is the point where Ezreal is getting towards the strongest 1 to 2 items. See if it's not even close yet. Once he gets 2-3 items for her, she starts to overtake the Ezreal, and particularly on 3. Once again, much quicker roams from the Hope and Kyle. They get such quick ability to respond. Sivir ult makes you quicker. The Ornn ult makes you quicker. Right here, you know, yes, Knight does use that ultimate. Doesn't change that much. It's just a bit of an annoyance. But it's still something which Knight needs to tighten up on. You cannot afford to be making that kind of mistake when you are down. At this point, you couldn't afford to be making those mistakes the whole series. We're making one like that in Game 3 when you are 2-0 down. It's not what we know from the best mid laner in the LPL.
He has been second best today. He has been a point of contention in terms of what we were expecting coming into this series. Like, look, can Knight actually, you know, be a problem? Because Shanks, like, he's got to overcome this demon again. He's so hard to do. And, you know, it is one of those final tests to really prove yourself as an elite player in the LPL in mid lane. Can you best Knight? And that has nearly invariably been no for most players. Today, at least in the first 2 games, the opening acts of this third, he has been the better player. And that, for Shanks, is potentially the thing that wakes him up to the next level, that makes him a name that people are going to start remembering.
Knight now marched up against the Ornn. Happier with that matchup. Shanks once again going towards the double mask build. Be going, I guess he'll be going Leandries into Bloodletters. A little strange because it means you drop a Malignance early. Does get a bit more HP to work with though, and Shanks has been incredible today. I think he's been given resources by his team. We will see whether that will continue when it goes towards the likes of MSI. Can you afford to do that when you are against some of the godly top laners across the world and the bot laners which can punish you as well? Perhaps you're not allowed to give as much resources towards Shanks at that kind of level, but BLG, they have not been able to find an answer towards AL in these first few games. I think this is a bit of a long repayment of a loan from BLG, where they have forever gotten away with the drafts that they've gotten away with, the play which they've gotten away with, because they were so damn good, it didn't matter. I think T1 actually went through a similar process, where they were good enough at matchups, good enough at early skirmishes, that it didn't matter that their draft eventually would cause them huge issues. And
Draft for individual power.
Yeah, and I think that Anyone's Legend have come to repay now. They do have the Sivir ult again, teleport in 5 members towards the Herald.
The deck collectors or the Reapers, whatever you want to call it. Either way, Anyone's Legend would love to call BLG's debt due. Onto the Herald we go. Shanks down by 20% HP.
So, Knight will look to steal the Ornn ultimate and look for an engage himself.
Looks to forge that guard. Looks to head on forwards with it. Misses because of a knockup from Kyle. A wonderful, wonderful super mega flare kick.
Yeah, stopped by Kyle. He was going for the reactivation. Maybe Knight could have E'd backwards to buy himself more time there, but Kyle, great knockback on the super mega flare kick.
Huge moment. Tarzan goes into the Warrior Trickster. Nimbus strikes forward onto Bim. Flashes out of the corner of the Forge God of his own. Second Cyclone. Misses the knock-up. Does Flandre awkwardly. But the stun afterward from the Incinerate brings down the Jace. Damage after though from Knight. Looking to find an angle. Impale on 3! Brings down Shanks. But the damage after not fantastic. Where is Elk? Trying to find some damage at the back end of it all as they've lost Bin as well. It's a great Impale, but the damage just isn't there. Flandre so tanky in the front line. Knight trying to get through a few more rotations. Looking for another engage. Misses the knock-up. Knight doesn't step into it. Isn't baited. Tarzan trying to step in himself, unbinds his soul with the Warrior Trickster, gets some more shots. Elk still free firing, but the melee on the back end of it. Kyle is brought low. Knight now in danger as Hope flashes on forward. The boomerang blades, the ricochets, BLG out skulls. BLG out skirmish when it matters the most.
The Elk outfights the Panda, even with Elk ending up auto-attacking a Wukong clone 3 times in the play. He has enough damage to see things through. BLG, the early fight finally works in their favor. It says so much that even with the cancelled Ornn ult with the Milio Q, and as you'll see later, Ezreal auto-attacking the Wukong an awful lot on his clone. They still had enough damage to make this work. Anyone's Legend don't have the items on the Sivir yet to make her instantly win these fights. Tibbers initially actually does a quite good job of body blocking and buying a lot of time, but this isn't old Annie where your Tibbers does a lot of burn damage. It's actually fairly little at this point. Big moment here, roots into Blast Cone, On sends Flandre out of position, and Elk and Knight just get to keep ripping through them. Big moment after this as Tarzan overchases onto Onto. Watch what happens here. So Elk ends up 1, 2, 3, and they're back on towards the Herald.
It's not stopping. Night though steals the Cyclone, driven into the wall is Tarzan, trying to find his own angle, trying to tail away that. Herald will not do so. Tarzan low, Cyclone comes on through, gets the cozy campfire down. Breath of Life not quite up, but available. Shock Blast just wide. Elk trading onto Hope, who eats a lot of damage. Searing charge onto the corner of the wall from off vision. Won't tag Elk. True Shot Barrage wide as well, but BLG gets the Herald they came for and come out looking like finally they are awake. They're in the lead in the early game.
BLG finally get that early fight. The Ezreal for Elk, the winning bot lane for them, the presence in early fights we asked for, built up. Knight now ahead of Shanks, and now we get to see what Shanks can do when he's behind the game. Didn't really get to do much that fight. Knight, when he was on the Talir so far behind, still managed to find plays in the late game. AL will now need to prove they can do that if they were to close this out. In a 3-0, they get that dragon. And BLG, this is the worry. You give them an inch, they take the whole arm.
I seem to remember a statement I said on the desk. Something along the lines of, job's not done. You need to finish the job. Triple tap, keep Knight down, or this kind of thing can happen. They go one by one into Knight, and he picks up 3 kills. He's got 2 items. Suddenly, anyone's Legend at the most dangerous point in any series. Brink of winning it. Things start to go a little awry. They still scale well. They've got Sivir and Ornn and Milio. Of course they scale well. But this is the first mid-game where BLG are actually on the front foot with agency, getting to do what they do best, which is use priority, use early leads to maraud and wield their broad.
And this is what BLG were meant to do when they brought in Beige-1. Beige-1 is just there to steady the ship and make sure these players get to play like this. Beige-1 jumping forwards again, providing a go button, forcing out the ult from Kyle. Self-CCing, self-cleansing himself. You can buffer that slightly. Hope trying to push in mid lane. He's not going to be able to take that much HP here.
And they're going to TP in, and they get the tier 2 in the other side all the while. I think they used Herald for it as well, so they get a lot of gold. 4 turrets deep now. Or BLG up suddenly 3.5, nearly 4,000 gold.
BLG much more comfortable. BLG, a team which, of course, have had 5-game series before. They're no stranger to that. Typically not from 0-2 down. I can't remember the last time, if ever, BLG have reverse swept. Not even sure they've ever done that.
Never needed to.
As an organization. Yeah, exactly. They've never needed to. Anyone's Legend, they've had 5-game series before. They had it to get towards their last finals. They lost that one. Tarzan, of course, waiting on that trophy for so long. One of the greatest junglers of all time. And yet, still never won a trophy. A truly bizarre feat, given his level individually across Griffin, LNG, Anyone's Legend now as well. Of course, Weibo made a World Finals on them too. He made a World Finals before he got a trophy. And still might be the case not getting one here. Anyone's Legend, they've got a couple of monkeys to get off their back. And of course, BLG, want to keep them there.
I'm not going to get the monkey into the back line. That might be the idea. The Cyclone from Tarzan will be important. Flandre has the ult stolen, flashes away. BLG never shy of pulling the trigger. Flandre in danger. Call of the Forge God. Empowered by all the AP. Flandre just about healed, buying some time. Can he run far enough away? He can. But now Tarzan also backing off. Get out alive, but my days. AL were sent running for the hills. Another TP to mid lane as the wave is shoved in.
Kyle blows that heal and showcases exactly how much healing Emilio can do. Teleport to contest the Atakan on no flash now. Tried to use that to catch out Flandre. Not able to do so. Atakan started.
Because of the reset, the ult's burned. Anyone's Legend nowhere near in position to contest this Atakan. Elk trading out with Shanks. He was the one who TP'd mid again. Running it with the Ezreal to match this one. Flash in from Shanks, gets the stun, but it's buying some time into the Tibbers. Still trying to run, buy some time, get another Arcane Shift off. Can he get it? Does. Gets out safely. All the while, Atakan down to 1500 HP, taken by Beige-1. But the turnaround is brutal. On can't get the healing from the Focus Resolve. Onto their tier 1. AL finally find a rebuttal after minutes of BLG dominance.
Elk, big mistake, trying to take the 1v1 versus the person with a point-and-click stun. Yes, you're 2.5 items in Ezreal. No, you do not have a cleanse on yourself. That's a problem. Shanks very nearly blowing open the game back towards Anyone's Legend. That's the kind of moment they're looking for. You get a brief moment like that. If they had managed to stop that out, can't get a couple of kills, maybe you can survive through to 3 items on Sivin. Maybe you can survive through to multiple items on Flandre. And I think Anyone's Legend are completely back in it. BLG need to stay ahead of the game. If they don't, Anyone's Legend can scale right back into it with the Civ Emilio.
I seem to remember a certain character of AD carries, which is been since the days of Season 2 and Double Lift, where certain players will have to outplay themselves out of bad situations they put into it. And they got the hands to do it, but really you probably shouldn't have been there in the first place. Great play from Alf to get out of there. Survived with very clean hands, but did you really need to be there in a finals of all this location? You're in a great spot, BLG. Hold your nerve. You can bring it to a game for Anyone's Legend. Thought they'd found the window, a way to right the ship that looked so smooth in the sailing it was undergoing. Knight roaming across the Lord of Wards. He is very scary, but he's going in kind of by himself here across every ward under the sun. Knight, I don't think you can do this. The On the Hunt's coming. You have walked across 3 wards to make this play and have to immediately flash out. This is far too far. What on earth was this? He's a roaming lone knight, and he dies in ignominious fashion.
BLG do have the 3 grubs, though, and they will get an inner turret. If you can stop the recalls, I think BLG will still be happy with this. Well, okay, they'll be okay with it. There's nothing really to get on the bot lane. They'll push that in. I guess with Dragon spawning in a few seconds, and yeah, you're absolutely right. Those are the wards which Knight walked over to get that. Anyone's Legend, pick up that play. They do use ultimates to do so. There's no turret for them to claim on the top side, so to kill for an inner turret and the Dragon. Still BLG favored, but a reality check, as we like to say, that you can't just get away with fast and loose play like that.
In another world, that might have been something like Baron. It's not. I'll give Knight the benefit of the doubt there, saying, look, we've got Dragon and people shoving in other lanes. They have to go respond to that. If they come to respond to me in any great force, and it will be a bad time. It ends up being a somewhat of a trade. The gold over to Anyone's Legend, but the turret, Dragon, does alleviate that one? That's the word we're looking for.
Ameliorate.
Alleviate. Oh, no, ameliorate. You're right. There's or alleviate, and I sort of combine the 2 words.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing. Yeah,
it's a good sounding.
Yeah,
word.
it's like it's not rocket surgery.
Yeah, exactly. Apologies for that one.
And I also have a favorite Malifaux out there. We'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
It's my favorite one. Yeah,
it's a good one. Well, BLG, they burned a couple of games earlier in this series. See how we bring that back on topic. Bin had a lot of gold. Knight had a lot of gold. Elks, well, even on, honestly. But Tarzan has 2 items. He's against the Jace. Wukong has always been one of the best anti-Jace champions. Not necessarily the best anti-Sylas champion, I will say, on the other side. As Hope actually had to pop that ultimate to retreat back towards mid lane and get back towards wave clear.
We've still got some decent wards in the river right now over by Baron, which is about to spawn. I don't know whether BLG would want to do it on spawn. Either way, they'll have some idea about what's going on. Dragon, a few minutes off, and because Anyone's Legend did get an earlier Drake, it's not like the sole point being threatened as yet. And again, do have the edge of being able to say, look, we can just take a breath, pause. It's only 3,000 gold. We have Sivir, we have Milio, we have Wukong and Ornn. All things that scale fantastically well. In fact, look at Sivir's inventory. The first of the ornaments is beginning to come on through. The Essence Reaver up and available.
How long can Anyone's Legend buy time for? They're getting Ornn items now. Flandre likes his Frozen Heart first. Onto the Ornn does help against, like, even against Sylas, honestly. Less good against the Ezreal, often out of range of your Frozen Heart aura if he's hitting Qs onto you. 3 items on Hope is the big point. There isn't anyone who can really shrug off that damage. Skarner is tanky, but not tanky enough to deal with something like Hope. He gets towards the Infinity Edge, and of course later after that point, with Dominus Regards, things will change. Hope gets himself a pickaxe, which means he's actually quite far away from that. He needs another another crit cloak, and he needs the completion gold as well of 600 odd, 625 gold beyond that point. There'll be another couple of minutes until he can get that. Maybe he gets it in time for the Dragon. BLG threatening the Baron instead, which does make sense. They know that the game is not going to end around the next Dragon. They want to force AL to fight right now before they reach that late game scaling.
There's enough wards here to know what's going on. The TPs are summoned. There's a lot of them in this game, including things like spellbooks and the rest of it. So the ability for teams to respond, the blink of an eye, pretty high. It's having a true shot barrage on a 3-item Ezreal. Yeah, that one hurts, folks.
Yeah, Shojin. Shojin hurts when you get towards that 3rd item as well. If you get a couple of stacks onto it, it will increase the percent damage you have. Knight getting a Karma Shield, can jump forwards again. Steals that Ornn ultimate, not able to connect on the E. Herald and Flandre make it out safe.
Wants to go into the bureau, pull out the ink and paper and start throwing some forgeries together. Hijack secures a big ticket ultimate. A minute and a half until Dragon, Elk, and Base One two-manning the Baron. It's off vision. They don't know.
I don't know, but anyone's legend. It's not like they can really go forwards that easily. BLG wanted to force. They forced the teleport last time. Ale, can they get close? Tarzan has Cologne, has Flash, but needs to get past the CC.
Forge Guard just wide, but the Baron secured nonetheless. And they can look to go. That one I don't think was Super Mega Flag. That was just best.
That one was just missed, Knight. One of his most shaky series I've seen in a while from Knight. And again, there are team reasons for that. I don't think BLG have given resources tonight, whereas I think AL put a lot of resources into shutting him down. But the individual mistakes have also been there. It's quite hard to talk about on broadcast, right? Because there's only a limited amount of time we have to talk. We could sit here for hours talking about these kind of games. That's what VOD reviews are for. You do need to give both sides of the coin. Shanks is playing well. Knight has been shut down, but he's also not playing at his best. We know that even though he can have series where he's not playing at his best, he'll still have a huge impact on games. Side laning now, stealing the Tibbers, getting a bit of chunk down onto Shanks. Of course, the actual Tibbers cast itself does less than it used to on Annie. Back when Knight won MSI using that pick primarily, actually, back in 2023 while playing for JDG. It's still nice to get some poke down there.
Hulk hops over the wall with the shield, looking to threaten under the turret. Definitely feeling empowered to be very scared. The true shot barrage. Again, another third of Shanks' HP goes down. You can't stand up and clear anymore.
Alex Ezreal, a pick to be feared. Not that far ahead of Hope now, and Hope does have the third item now. Has that Infinity Edge. If BLG let the Sivir free fire, they can... It's throwable, is what we say. It is still throwable. Hope, collecting those cinders. It's all in the Sivir basket now. Everyone just buying time. Wukong Cyclones on top of her and melee range. I don't care what it takes, but anyone's legend, it is all on the Sivir.
You have got a 4-item Wukong, and there's a world where you blow up the Ezreal, blow up the Jason, use that. You've got the upgraded Trinity Force to what was once the Trinity Fusion. You've got 3 items on Sivir. There are ways to come back into this. It's just you're looking at Elk at 3.5 items. You're looking at Silas at 3 items. The Jace at 3 items. I'm going down a list here, and it's a little bit concerning to look at. The Baron doesn't break the base. And this is only soul point. You can afford to wait some.
Yeah. Even if the Infernal Soul comes through, if you buy enough time for Sivir, it could be a huge difference. Tarzan still has the clone, goes into the Cyclone.
In comes the Call of the Forge God, but Finn's out of range. Let's get out to safety, sped up by the Karma. Damage back is pretty brutal as Tarzan kept alive by the cozy campfire, but doesn't really get to stay alive. He's gone for damage items, and it means he's not very tanky until that GA is completed.
Even with the Ornn items, even with the 3-item Sivir, can't quite get the damage down. The Karma actually having good value here from On. The Shurelius and the heal, keeping Bin topped up, and BLG escape what could have been a comeback fight for anyone's legend as they try and utilize the last bit of their Baron buff.
Ornn just not tanky at the minute either, with only a frozen heart and landing despair. Things like this, Ezreal with the Shoji just chunks him through, really. That's without things like this Herald is available. Inhibitor turrets under siege in 2 lanes at once. Unable to stop the one in the bot lane, and the mid lane I think will shortly fall after. BLG looking for more. Flash for the Impale. Immediately Breath of Life, but I don't know how many Brawl Breaths they've got. The water is rising. And anyone's legend are drowning in this game.
Knights jumping forwards for the call of the Fraud God as well. Maybe he'll hit it this time. We'll see. Maybe that's why. Maybe it is just fraudulent. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's where he got it, the second reactivation of it. BLG now threatening Infernal Soul in 4 minutes. I mean, most of the time I think Infernal Soul is pretty... I wouldn't call it game-ending in the way that Hextech is, but you give an Infernal Soul over and you think, yeah, it's pretty done. Especially with the Ezreal, I think, in this game. Heading towards that. But anyone's legend, they're just trying to wait and scale. Make BLG work for it. This game has been BLG favored ever since they walked away with that early skirmish on around that top side where Knight and Elk put on an absolute clinic to run anyone's legend through. Anyone's legend after that point playing defensive, very nearly now towards 4 items on Hope. And actually, if you look at the what's happened is anyone's legend has said, look, Sivir is our win condition. No one else take farm. Sivir, you go between all 3 lanes. Ornn doesn't need farm, Annie doesn't need farm. We're getting this Sivir towards 3 items. And that is why Elk is not ahead of Hope. Anyone's legend have put all of their gold into Hope and saying, look, you're getting all 3 lanes of farm. Shanks is going to, like we saw here, absolutely jack all in terms of damage. It's all on Hope. Give him all the farm.
They've literally just said, look, Elk is on 10 CS a minute. He's not farming poorly. Somehow, some way, Hope is up 60 CS because of just that, right? He's getting 2 extra waves every time towards the final inhibitor turret. The Call of the Forge God, someone with a regular God. It's a bit of a battle of pantheons, of ideologies, and I think the Heretics might be winning it. Shanks has to back away, speeds himself up with the phase rush. He needs to back away, throws out an Incinerate that means very little.
Sivir was actually clearing the bot wave and then the mid wave. That's why they choose to take that time. 3 inhibitors down. Look, Sivir is pretty strong. I don't know if it's clearing 3 minions, 3 waves of super minions worth. He has got that 4th item now, though. They give up the 3 inhibitors to make sure that Sivir can get towards 4 items. It is all in the Hope basket. He last won a title back in 2022 summer, back on Jingdong Gaming. He is an ex-LPL champion, though often sidelined amongst other great names. He beat Knight for that title, that top esports JDG rivalry. Hope, not a player which people often say is amongst the greatest of AD carries, but right here could be what AL need.
Hope springs eternal, so they say. Or certainly sprint eternal. Throws on the hunt. There's the waves and BLG. Back away. Happy enough with all the inhibitors, but can't end the game. The wave clear good enough.
Now suddenly Hope 400 gold up. Again, it doesn't... AL are just hoping. It doesn't matter that the Ornn is so far behind. The Annie is not so far behind. It's just all in the Sivir. Last item, GA, Bloodthirster. Could be any of those things, really. Don't think you need a second QSS if Milio's there behind you. You want the extra damage.
Yeah.
Do get a little bit worried, though, that Anyone's Legend, one person steps out of line. Tarzan's been the real big victim of this. Is that if you just catch someone with Ezreal combo or Silas E, game's over then at that point.
Officially, we were 2 CS off of Flame Horizon for Hope. In fact, I think as he gets his wave, here it goes. Flame Horizon, they've just given him absolutely everything. Not quite, as I literally tried to call it. Still 2 CS behind, but either way, the point stands. This Sivir is trying to take this all on himself. Takes the best AD carry in the LPL right now is Hope. He needs to deliver it here when it matters.
Sivir teleport used, was on wave clear duty. Again, has completed that Flame Horizon. And Anyone's Legend, they're just saying, look, we have everything in Sivir back in. Knight looking for the engage.
Oh, it's a wonderful angle. The heresy of the Call of the Forgery God comes across. Flandre, though, trying to defend his Pantheon's rights. They try to get the engage. The Impale doesn't work. Goes Baytron, they still bloody tanky. Sivir! Leash! They get rid of Baytron. Jungler down. Knight now in danger. They re-engage on the Silas. Who can't go in on the chains reinforce. Trying to teleport the jungle. Look at the back door. Needs to get back on in. L trying to buy space. Flandre in danger. Elk also doing some work. On heals himself up. Hope throwing up the boomerang blade. Flandre gets a knock of a bin. Final Nexus turret falls. Kills off Flandre. Finally, Nexus under siege. Flandre and Tarzan must stop the chase. Will it matter? Can they stop him? For half the HP. Stunned up! Ben is trying! 10% HP! And finally he's brought low! The minions! Oh god, the minions! Surely they can clear the waves!
Hope carries the team fight. He was given all the gold and they take it down to the very end of the wire. A Dragon has taken Infernal Soul off the map. BLG might still run at the Nexus. They have just enough wave clear to stay alive here. On this 3rd game, Sivir gets a full build off of that fight. They play this as close to the knife's edge as possible. They use up all of their towers, use up all of their Nexus HP, but they get themselves towards the late game Sivir promised land, and BLG overforce the fight in the top jungle.
Can they stay there though? Because the promised land, in truth, is heaven in the form of lifting that trophy. Of being the #1 seed from the LPL. MSI, you got that already, but going there with the bitterness of a defeat here behind you, rough. And the problem is BLG still get the Baron, still bear the Nexus. Every structure not named the Nexus is dead. At least the inhibitor and bot lane respawns.
Worth noting as well, Nexus turrets do respawn now. Hope can wave clear like a mother. Sivir can try and keep them alive. Tarzan caught out on a flank. He's going to get ulted. Ooh. Misses from Baytron. Wall stunned back in. Going back in for the play, though.
Here comes the Call of the Force. Got Baytron flashes away. They engage onto Knight. Goes golden, but he's split up from the team. I think he's dead. They've got him again.
They've got him again, and they're not close enough towards the Nexus. The Breath of Light use another kill for AL. Swaiting, scaling, the strategists, the grand strategists of the LPL, trying to fix their way into this late game, and they get a kill. BLG, can they force things towards the Nexus before the Nexus turrets respawn?
Knight was 3-1. He's gone to 3-4. He's been picked off time and time again under these last few moments. He was Legend the gold lead, only 4,000 behind. The problem is, as we said, the base is problematic. Infernal Soul still tricky. And yes, we've been talking about the Sivir quite a lot, but Elk on the Ezreal, 10-2 this split. He's at 4 items. He's got an Infernal Soul. Infernal Soul on Ezreal. He might be able to just show Hope exactly how it's done.
Yeah, Shanks having to wave clear himself now. Top lane inhibitor soon respawning mid lane after that point. Ezreal, the Sivir used on bot side to protect the last remaining inhibitor here, which was, well, the first one to come back up. All 3 inhibs have respawned. Nexus turrets will come on soon after that point. Every Ornn item purchased by Ornn for his team as well. You see that there? All inhibitors respawn. The Nexus HP bar disappears. I guess to take a little bit of a break. It is all on Hope. No flash for the next fight. Does have teleport. Elder in 3.5 minutes. I don't know how AL leave their base, by the way. Like, I mean, there are any number of people that could just walk into the base. There are triple teleports for BLG to potentially backdoor. See that bin? Sat over the wall here. BLG not able to cleanly close. They might need an Elder to do it.
At that point, do anyone's Legend find another way back in? The Baron power play is negative, oscillating between Bex to nothing, and actually losing money. That's a horrifying thought. The Nexus, or the Inhibitor's still under siege. All the Forge God trying to defend them. They don't want to give this one over. Elk hops away. Can they get in range? Elk in danger. Gets some decent orders. The exhaust. The redemption. He stays alive just about. All the while they have to back away. Knight gets the Inhibitor in mid lane. They get the one in top as well, courtesy of Bin and Knight. And the attempted punish on the 3-man unit doesn't quite come on free.
Yeah, BLG take 2 inhibitors, and they do have no Sivir ult to worry about. Now Tarzan trying to catch that Knight. Potentially they had no Cyclone. Hope slowed down.
Tarzan in danger. GA still active. Loses 2/3 of his HP. Shanks eats a shot blast. This late into the game. The Jace as well a problem. The respawned Nexus turrets. Weaker, but there. BLG in the base. Speeding themselves up. They want this now. Anyone's Legend. Can you hold any longer?
Hope regenning up with the Bloodthirst. They can't even take the break back towards the fountain. Skill shot landing. That could be it.
They're going to keep hunting. In they go. Tarzan hints with the Warrior Trickster. A call of the Forge God again. Stolen by Knight. He misses the reactivation again.
Knight has been so off point in this series. Missing 3 Ornn ultimates. Such an important ult to steal. Tarzan going forwards.
They're going on top of base. Right, he's dead. Important pickup. Knight to the back end. He's on the next. But to what end? He's getting brought low. Kyle gets a kill. Big goes down. They're winning to find the base out. Trying to find missing shots. He missed one. Throwing it backwards. Hit by the Super Mega Flare Kick. Trying to play this one. But he's quite literally 1 versus 5. And he's not enough.
Anyone's Legend hold the line, and Billy Gaming now with 4 dead, with only on alive, will maybe have to protect their own side of the map. 30 seconds till Baytron is up. Hope has a teleport on trying to clear the wave, but as long as 1 minion survives, I think anyone's Legend can push out and potentially take something on the map. It won't be the end of the game, but Hope with the full build Sivir trying to deliver anyone's Legend to the promised land.
They can get through the mid lane turret. They don't have much of a wave, but they're still coming as fast as they can. There's 15 seconds on Knight and on Bin. They don't necessarily get a chance to clean the game.
Hang on. When Knight's up in 10 seconds, he has teleport. He might go for the end. If AL overstay, this could be it. They need to recall now. Flandre on the Nexus. The Nexus turret's actually quite hard to tell whether they're up or not at this point. With the Nexus health up, I think you can tell that the Nexus turrets are down. Graphically quite hard to see. Hope teleported back. Oh, Jesus Christ. Ladies, gentlemen, everyone else, I hope you're enjoying this. This is one of the more unique experiences I have seen within modern League of Legends. A full build Sivir trying their best to hold the line, as Major Kira here would say.
I seem
You've done just that.
A certain player called Teddy on Jin Greenwings many years ago, doing unspeakable things on Sivir Nexus defense. It's been done time and time again over the years in League of Legends. 20 seconds on Elder.
We're getting to the point now where, capped out builds on BLG are going to start losing them their effective gold lead. 10 seconds on Elder, as you're rightfully saying. The Infernal Soul has not ended this game. Knight potentially in position for a backdoor, potentially look for a 1v1 on a side lane too. Has himself a death cap, which is scary as hell. Bin getting some poke down. Elk doing the same. The Infernal Soul helping. Hope is with them. That Sivir is everything for anyone's Legend.
Elder down at half. Shirelius plus
Knight's going to the Nexus. Knight's going towards the Nexus.
Trying to get on top of it in the picture. Keep an eye on that as well. BLG trying to buy space. Tarzan, scary, but going down. Knight on the Nexus. Altering away. Pendra's high burst. Who cares? You can hit him. Call of the Forgery God when you can just win the game.
We go to a game 4. BLG stay alive. Knight doesn't hit his ultimate, but he does hit the Nexus.
The last option is Cassiopeia. Vladimir both hovered. And it is the Cassiopeia, once known as Orochi, the great 8-headed serpent of lore.
Orochimaru, Knight was known as that back in the LSPL when he was coming back up into the scene all those years ago. So, good way to kill tanks. Trundle Cassiopeia, insanely good ability to lock someone into melee. However, Knight will have to be very, very on point with his miasma. He needs to be very, very on point against what I presume at this point is actually going to be the poke Varus instead. That ult hits the Cassiopeia in the backline, it's a problem. Knight, poor series so far, but perhaps this is the pick which he needs to get himself back firing on all cylinders. And Tarzan on the other side can play very, very well. I think BLG is starting to scale into the series. Let's hear the gyros.
This is a war of gyos, both simultaneously. Pressure's mounting. The fans feel the tension. Anyone's legend could have just dealt with it last game. We couldn't be here. We could have been a 3-0 short day. Ain't anymore. No crazy level 1s this time. Reminder, Knight died at the level 1 last game. Oops. Doesn't happen this time. Flandre gets to lane. Bit of a ship's passing of the Knights. Actually wandered through the enemy jungle to get to lane. Puts a ward down. Is spotted. I think this Jax can get into the bush here. Force been on an awkward path to lane. Will back away, but does mean he's not actually going to be in lane as the minions crash. Flandre's going to wait in the tri-bush. He's just keeping him out of here. Decides against it. Stepping back and forth. Puts the ward down. Spots Bin come on through. Good timing on that one. Look to now keep Bin away from those minions and do what he can to get shoved away. That might otherwise be quite difficult. Hope. And on. Burning some summoners early. Ghost and heal in trade for On's heal in trade. Looking to really fight for the early lane priority here. Arrow comes on down. The level 2 hit by Flandre early off the zone controls. Dropped a minion or two to make sure he gets that advantage, but gets the counter strike onto Bin. And drops a lot of his early health bar. Leap strikes forward. The turnaround begins to come on through Flandre. Taking a fair amount of damage back, but has got biscuits and pots of his own. So strictly speaking, has a bit more sustain to work with. One for the grasp, but both have. Zed already speeding through the jungle. What you'll often see at this point is you'll finish your clear very, very early on in the Zed. Remember to smite early to get your passive off on the camps. And then after, you want to reset, get the early longswords, and turn up wherever the enemy jungler is, and brawl over Scuttle with the extra AD to your name. Your eyes on it.
And the reason for the Zed jungle being powerful is because that passive doesn't have a cooldown on camps. So if you get them below half HP, you deal 8% of their maximum HP as magic damage. So all you have to do is just keep auto-attacking. You smite early to get it below half HP, and then your passive takes over the rest of the damage. Goes back, gets the double longswords, gets onto the map. Worth noting though, of course, you know, if Trundle gets a chomp on you, you do get lots less AD. Trundle's still going to win a lot of fights against the Zed. You can't really do that much. Good handshake.
On low, turns around with a double grand entrance. Doesn't lead to too much, but at least gets a bit of CC trade. Tarzan, of course, back on this reset. Can maybe look bot side. Double grab taken by Beichuan.
This red buff applied, sees Tarzan in the river. Big thing about the Zed versus the Trundle, you need to be very careful about how you use your pillar. You use your pillar to, how you use your shadow. If you use your shadow to get away or trade onto the Zed, you can't use it to get away from the pillar. Uses it now, pillar used.
Steps on forward with the red buff on top. Could have that buff for slightly longer. Gets a bit of a chunk, but not too much more. But now Kyle jumped on. Handshake also in trade, but Dial taking a lot of damage, forced to flash. Now the turner as Hope steps on forward, gets some autos down, overcomes the Zed, looking to catch out on. Does have flash, does have battle dance, may need to use them. Extended range on that E, of course, because it's with the Xayah, so gets out to safety.
Yeah, it uses that very, very effectively there. And we can see that Knight doing well against Shanks, proccing that Conqueror, seeing if the E would come through. Pillar onto him. Knight winning an early lane. Bit of a problem there from AL2. Do not want to let that get out of hand.
Shadow dash forward damage onto the Trundle. Ow. Still got a little bit of time left on that red buff and chunks out the Trundle pretty healthily.
I was actually wondering if there was a point where he could go for a flash auto for the passive. Tarzan, no flash right now. No shadow right now. No extra damage coming through. Mid jungle from Tarzan. Shanks. Bullying around a little bit there.
You see the fact that On is around, but Tarzan, of course, can look to help try and steal these. Shanks also roaming on in. There's a smite available, uses it, and secures the wrap with Shanks. a little bit of damage from a Gleaming Core, but doesn't lead to that much. Shanks will probably need to reset shortly.
See, though, that On is actually on the map. That is a big difference, and he's there before Kyle. The bot lane getting some comfort pick for themselves. On is a really good Rakan at moving around the map. This could be a huge factor for BLG, and something that AL need to consider very heavily. Flandre on the Jax. Letting the wave come into him right now. But Bin's Gnar, also a champion which he's been very comfortable on before. But once again, On is here, out onto the map. AL perhaps not going to get the same macro advantages that they thought they might have as they did earlier in the series because On's Rakan is so mobile.
Deadly indeed. One of the better picks on that front. You can try and make some of these big plays. I think your engage tools are a little conditional this game outside of the Rakan. You know, does someone step into the petrifying gaze? Do you get a good pillar? Is the Gnar timer good for the rage? Now, all those things, it's not quite simple as well. I just press R on Varus, right?
Hope doing quite well in this lane. Of course, you expect the Varus to do a lot of work versus the Xayah. It's not
old school
crazy right now. Yeah, of course it was, because you just poke Xayah out. Can't really do that much against that kind of range. You can very rarely gap close into the hail of arrows as well. Look, eating another arrow there. Good accuracy from Hope.
Drunk indeed. Got the cull early on here, trying to weather the laning phase best they can on the AD carry. Phase 1, now to Grom. Maybe look bottom here. Remember, there is no flash on Kyle, but Tarzan also walking up, matching base 1 relatively well here. Goes looking to see whether On and Elk overstep, but secures the safety of the control ward in that pixel bush.
BLG, though, still a better platform on the map than I think that AL would like to give them. Tarzan level 6, of course, taking that early. You're a Zed, you power farm. Very, very quick at clearing. Dragon available. Knight holding Shanks back, but Shanks has that ultimate. Quite hard to stop Galio from being able to respond. If you are in range from Miasma, you can throw the Miasma onto the Galio as he's charging up his ultimate. It will stop that, though, worth noting.
Be a bit challenging. While AL, though, with the shove from bot side, do manage to come over and date the Dragon. Nice little shadow into the bush there to ensure that there was no Trundle waiting in the wings. It's actually quite an annoying bush to sit in as a jungler. You can just sort of flash on forward to nab dragons, kind of out of nowhere.
Rod of Ages, Seraph's Bill for Knight going to come in. And eventually, no, you know what? I think that AL do have the damage to kill a Cassiopeia on the whole, even through the Seraphs and the Rod of Ages. We'll go towards the Rylai's or the Andrews after too. Even then, Shax, Galio, Zed. The thing is, you do have triple melee divers going in. They do have a bit of range threat. You know, the Zed can poke you from range. The Galio's got the Q. And of course, the Renata, Varus are going to be nasty too. It is, by the way, the on-hit Varus. You probably mentioned that. Did you mention that?
Temper. Actually, I
cool.
didn't.
Okay, cool.
So that's a good call.
Good call that, to call that one out, rather. Means that it's not going to be poke arrows coming over the top. Means you do have more damage to, you know, gun down someone like the Trundle in front of you, though. About to hit that level 6. Grubs spawning now. Anyone's Legend. See BLG there first. Not typical in this series of BLG to turn up to the objective first. Anyone's Legends have been better at setting up for these so far.
Onto the Grubs we go, and BLG have been very proactive at fighting for them. Kyle in danger, throws down the heal. Flash on in for the grand entrance. Tarzan looking for an angle. Kyle gets saved by the Galio for a second. The bailout coming on through, not going to quite be required as Kyle steps on forwards. Damage back. Petrifying Gaze back step wonderfully. The damage still good. Hope looking for a potential angle, but his lethal temple rowing on in a spot of bother. Gets another one of those Grubs. It's a 1-for-1 trade at that point on Battle Danced away. Counter strike available. Pillar to try and interrupt it. Tarzan looking for an engage himself. Throws out another shuriken. But in the end, everyone stays alive. Ults are popped. And 2 of the Grubs do go anyone's Legend's way.
No, Hope starts just machine gunning. Pops that Ghost. Missed the ult in the play, which I think would have got anyone's Legend a kill. But that's not great for BLG. I thought they would be in a position to really get a good fight at that moment in time. But they can't quite get that first kill. On blows both summoners, trying to get the flash that's Kyle. But they can't quite close that down. BLG leave with just the one Grub, which is, yeah, concerning.
Grubs for a Jax. Even the Galio, actually, with the passive and Demolish, can do quite a lot with work with that. And then on top of that, Zed. Remember, this is Jungle Zed. If he gets enough farm and he's fast enough, he can just turn up the towers and start autoing. He's not bad at doing that either if you need to do it. And G have been remiss in the mid game in terms of their macro moves, in terms of their map setup, and giving that ability to punish tower shoves very aggressively with those Grubs can be dangerous here for anyone's Legends.
However, one thing which I think will become more potent in this game is the fact that I don't think anyone's Legend have the same tools to shut down Knight on side lanes as the way that they did in the previous series. You know, He is doing fine in this matchup versus Shanks. Tarzan visited his lane early, but I do think that Bin and Knight are going to be fine in individual matchups in this game. That opens up options for BLG. As long as Knight and Bin have some options for themselves, it makes a difference. That being said, I mean, Tarzan's going to go straight towards Bin.
Find the angle, waiting to see whether he can find something to work with. Throws down the shadows, opting forward, slow from that smite. In comes the Deathmark, looking for an angle, lots of damage back, gets the ult of the wall, but there's a flash on him from Shanks. And down goes the Gnar.
Bin way too far forward, uses his flash, uses his ult, still has nothing to survive. Shanks doesn't have his ultimate, didn't need it. Just walked down himself, and anyone's legend do punish on the side lanes. Just as we said, that's BLG's comfort zone, where they have these side lane agency picks. Bin, a poor series from him today. Definitely not what you expect from him if you've seen him at previous international events at Worlds and MSI, and of course being an LPL champion as well. He has not been the Bin of 23 and 24. He's overstepped there on the side lane. Not many players on BLG this year have really been able to say in large spurts of time that they have been playing towards their old standards, and anyone's legend have been putting them to the sword when they have made those mistakes.
TP's come on through, there's a ward there remaining, but that's the TP behind. Flandre now in danger himself, needs to throw down the counter-strike, does. Where do you run though? Hops to the other side, needs to keep walking, but I think he just dies. Good TP behind and BLG punish. Didn't know the wall behind there to get thrown down the drain.
Yeah, so Flandre, on the other side of it, he's caught out now. Flandre, a player who, hang on a second, is there going to be a play onto Tarzan? Use that shadow to get out, he's safe. Said hard to get a hold of, has that Clip's first item as well for the shield. So what we're just saying, Bin did over push, now gets to go towards this top side. Both these champions pretty good at killing towers with the demolish and the chomp. Plate quickly falls down.
TP in from Shanks, they get a few more plates and the gold. It's an even thing here. A few hundred gold both one way and the other. As I spoke about it, it went up from a couple hundred between it to more about 3 or 4 in favor of anyone's legend, but still a game that is quite close after what felt like a few good moments for anyone's legend. Important kill onto Flandre. An important kill to pick up on Knight, another player who's had a subpar series for one of the greats in the world. He has not looked like it today. He took the nameplates off. Honestly, I would have said it was Shanks who was looking like Knight. High praise indeed. And an eyebrow raise from the rest of us about what the hell has been happening with Knight today. He got the MVP last game, I think against a few of our better judgment. He won the game by getting a good next turret, and he had a good skirmish, but the Silas wasn't his usual imperious self either.
No, I think that Knight looks like finally, after a split of 1v9ing for BLG, maybe it's become a bit too much. I think that, I don't think I see him tilt like this very often, if at all. Not looking like himself. And just when BLG needed him to step up and be that pressure point, Shanks has just diffed him in so many laning phases. Right now, he's only even in gold with the Galio, which is not what they want. I guess in this draft, still fine for him to just scale up into the game in a way that he wasn't necessarily doing in the drafts beforehand. AL do have a slight advantage. I will say it's harder for AL to find a win condition in this game. I don't think they straight out deal with them in the 5v5.
Shanks waiting in the bush, gets Bin shoving. That's a lot of damage down onto him, but I don't think he'll be able to get the full kill there. The combo is burned. Bin nearly at the Mega Gnar here as well, but loses a lot of his HP bar. The Winter Wall comes on down. Wallop does come on through. It's a very satisfying one to listen to sell that one out. But the ult on Shanks, Bin does have TP, but the Mega Gnar's not going to be there on a good timer as the Dragon spawns, assuming people want to come and contest.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to push in mid lane. They do have the 2 grubs, remember, so they can cross them up fairly effectively. 1 dragon for 1 dragon early on. BH1 able to chomp that one down and keep his team present in objectives.
Tarzan goes in and nabs some Raptor camps away. Can't go for anything like the red buff on top of that. So ends up only really being a camp trade for the dragon, so pretty good for BLG, I feel. And they get the shove down bot side. They got the Trundle there as well, and Trundle, for all he's in the jungle, can just turn up and stop bonking and chomping towers.
He is a Triforce Trundle with a maxed out Q. He's able to do that. He can get a second play even there too. That'll kill it with the extra thing there. Shared between BH1 and Knight. BH1 helping out Bin and Knight both get plates on those turrets. So despite the fact that BH1 is down about, 5 camps or so, maybe a little less than that actually, as I'm saying. No, it is about around there, whatever. Numbers. He's even-ish in gold, which is fine.
I mean, looking at the jungle items, there's full number 5 on there, so obviously that can change a little bit depending on whether you got elastic rubber band mechanics going on, but either way, it's still a little ways behind, and does manage to keep himself in the game with that one, and that does mean that we've got another game that is, especially after last game, which is feeling a little bit more even, which on the side of BLG is good news. They've been blown out games 1 and 2 on that front. Game 3, came back into it and then got a great lead, and then the Sivir incident happened.
We'll see what AL choose to do in this game as well, because I think, look, in the last few games, they've had clear win conditions. I don't know what their win condition is here with this composition. Like, in 5v5s, I think it's actually very hard to get onto the Xayah and the Cassiopeia. One of them has the Xayah ultimate, one of them has the miasma. They've not smashed early lanes with something like that. Varus, yes, he does have the on-hit Varus. Maybe the player is just having someone just rooted up in front of you with the Renata getting a reset for the Varus. I don't think that wins the entire team fight, though. Even with the Ghost on the Varus, it's quite hard to chase down the targets you want to. Anyone's Legend, I think this is probably the hardest to play draft of the series. No, it's definitely the hardest to play draft of the series. And I think particularly when you put the nameplates on as well, Tarzan not being the engage is also a huge factor. This guy has so often been the go button because he is the guy that is calling the shots. With him on Zed, he's the one that's getting the damage down, but he's not necessarily the person who's pinning someone down with a Sejuani, a Vi, something like that.
He has been great on things like the Theory, though, which we haven't seen this series yet, actually thinking about it, but try and do some of that carrying there, take a slightly different role in the team. Kyle, for a little bit out by that pillar, does eat half of his HP bar.
Herald started up. Kyle still has that ult, still has flash. You can pull it over the wall. It's a great hostile takeover angle.
Flashing on in for that hostile takeover. Bin finds a decent angle himself. El coming to the air with a feather storm trying to buy some time. Tarzan goes back into the shadow. Bin dangerously low. Will surely go down. The feathers after the flash. Keeps people rooted in place. Shanks does not get the full ultimate, but gets the shield. Double kill towards Tarzan, who gets the shadow again. He's going for the pentakill. Tarzan denied.
Hope steals the pentakill as Tarzan clears through the fight in their hardest to play draft. Tarzan, the crownless king of the jungle, may have found the fight and the gold he needs to finally see silverware. BLG get routed at the Herald. They do get the objective, I believe. Yeah, it's in the inventory of Elk, but it just doesn't matter. Anyone's Legend get the reset on the Varus passive, the huge damage from the Zed, and they roll through the fight. Watch this again. Initially you think, okay, well, they're diving in, but the miasma's already used. On misses Tarzan. He misses him in the engage. If that had gone through with the Rakan into the Cassiopeia ult, maybe that would have been the difference. But it's just not enough time bought. No miasma left. That was on cooldown. And the feather pullback just doesn't do enough. Hope still has the Ghost running. He has the bailout running as well. And he runs over the fight in terms of the damage.
You could not ask for a better answer to what happens when Tarzan isn't on the engage, when he goes towards the damage. Well, apparently sometimes you end up with fights like that. Elegant stuff from the jungler of Anyone's Legend. He's a game away from finally claiming his first title. Shanks also now 400.
Shanks only a little under a year younger than Knight, but someone who's not been exposed to the international stage, not someone who's been on the final stage before this year, but a player who I think has more than played his part. He has been the better mid laner than Knight, and that is very rare to say on a regional level with an LPL. Even internationally, it's rare to say that. Tarzan gets his full black cleaver on the second back. That'll help out the Varus, that'll help out the Jax. God, he'll help out himself. Shanks, on the weak side of the map, will probably just let this turret go. BLG, oh, how do they feel on stage now? The recent overlords of the LPL, a piece changed. A coach fired, a jungle changed out multiple times and landing on Beidrouan. And yes, I think he's done a fine job covering the holes of BLG, but they're still present just underneath the woodwork, a little rotted. And Anyone's Legend on the other side of it, they look like a much more complete outfit. I think every lane understands their role. I think their win conditions have been accepted by all members, and they're playing towards it well. And I think really Tarzan and Kyle are the core of this. So good at preparing the map and objectives. As Dragon comes up again, there are no summoners for Anyone's Legend this time, but with so much extra gold, BLG will need to be very careful.
Here comes the pillar, hoping to spot a danger. The feather pull doesn't land, but the petrifying gaze does. In comes Galio, trying to keep the AD carry alive, but does so. Tarzan in the back line! Help get two! Now they need to run Billy Gaming to get out on the frozen domain, but they go for the pick, and it all goes so wrong.
Tarzan just absolutely massacres them. Is this season 3 or is this 2025? You couldn't tell me the difference between them. Bin gets the ultimate out of Flandre, but that will be a Dragon going towards Anyone's Legend. And as we were saying, it's a hard comp to play. How do you win team fights as says Anyone's Legend? They're proving us wrong. Turns out when you have a player like Tarzan in the jungle, sometimes it's jungle diff.
The Zahir and the Cassiopeia burn their ults. Suddenly, you've got a Jax and a Zed flying on in to punish your temerity. Flandre's coming topside. Bin low will knock out of the counter-strike with his own ult. In comes the TP of their own, but Kyle also here. Flandre in danger. Elk now about to come in and get involved. Bin caught by the Winds of War. Handshake back. Shanks running away. It's a 1-for-1 in the end.
Yeah, Tarzan's not there at this fight, so he's not there to pull off those smooth moves. Again, pushing in mid lane. Tarzan, good roam up towards top side. Now, level 13, he's maxed out his Shadow Slash as well, which is his full burst combo. If he goes onto he can actually ult him. He can ult him. El needs to be very, very careful. There is no ult for him. I think Tarzan could have looked for the full kill. I guess with other members around, didn't want to test it. Elk's flash was just coming off a cooldown if I spy correctly on the right-hand side of my screen.
Worth noting, part of the reason why there weren't as many Anyone's Legends member around that part of the map is they did just take the second dragon of the game for themselves. 4 minutes until the next Cloud Dragon. Cloud Soul this game would be pretty valuable on things like Zed, on Jax. We'll have a look again at what happened in the mid lane.
So it's initially a great pillar onto Hope, into On, getting that full combo forwards as well, but he gets caught by the Varus ultimate. The CC never comes in. Elk doesn't get the triple route, which allows Tarzan the time to catch the people who walk forwards. Knight steps forward to try... oh my god. The triple shuriken onto 3 people, or the double shuriken. I think the triple was just short, but Tarzan... Oh my god, this jungler. What a player he has been throughout his career. It feels so sacrilegious that he's never had a title. That, I think, changes today. He's so far ahead. BLG, I don't know if they have the tools to deal with Tarzan picking off people around the side of fights as they do right now.
Kyle trying to help clean up this Herald. I think he gets a charge. That's about it. Looking pretty dire here for Billy Gaming. I hate to say it. 2,500 gold behind. You can see the win rate. Success chances here. That Galio, by the way, 10 stack Dark Seal, Rift make it in. You've got 2.5 items on Zed. Who on earth ever wins a duel now against nearly anyone on anyone's Legend?
I mean, BLG need to wait and scale, but that's not their strength. They have never been the wait and scale team. Yes, they tried it in that game too, and they very nearly made it work. Knight is now at 3 items, not having to spend gold on boots because his Cassiopeia gets his movement speed from his passive instead. Yes, they're only 3k down as a whole team at 22 minutes. Could be worse, but... BLG really struggling to get that initial combo in. Engaging into the Renata has just not worked for them. Kyle, what a player he's been too. Tarzan scouting up with his face, throwing the shadow backwards and flipping to it.
And of course, you got the Galio on top of that as well. And the Mikhails. Like, it's very hard to punish these members. And look a little bit proactively. Chains of Corruption just wide.
Yeah, trying to see if they could get a pick off. I think with Bin still in bot side, they were hoping to get a play while he was not present at the play. Some fun plays to be had too, actually. Hang on, Shanks. He's looking for ways to get delivered into the backline primarily this game. He could make it there himself. Really interested to see if Tarzan will do something like the shadow backwards, ult in, get the Galio into the middle of the fight, and then shadow out. Just need to get that symbol on the ground and get Shanks into it. That can potentially be a play. While also not sticking himself in the melee range. This is one of the points where the Zed mechanics really come out on top. BLG rushing there to calm down. They do have the Cassiopeia. Good damage on the objective.
Here come the members of anyone's Legend. Down to half HP. Bin and On also coming on down. Jax can TP and may need to do so soon. Down to 5k HP. Anyone's Legend still winning on a contest. Atakan still spawning. It's going to be a flip. Can you smell the burgers here in the potentially final game? Back to Contigune. The hostile takeover is brutalizing. Shanks a little bit deep. Needs to run away. Goes down into the bailout. Doesn't get to be brought back to life, but the health bars so desperately low from BLG. Can they find some more? Shadow Knight in the backline. The petrifying gaze. But Flandre's not hit. He's not turned to stone. Flash for the counter strike. The mage is on and he headshots the backline.
BLG try to take the Atakan, but all they find is Tomb. Tarzan with another set of kill participation and Flandre first flashing forwards to confirm them. BLG, a team which has been so internationally recognized, regionally now, more than challenged, dominated by anyone's Legend, a team which many people will not have known have existed for the last few years. Kyle, hostile takeover as the objective gets low. While that happens, Shanks catches the fleeing members, taunts into Berserk, into a huge amount of damage. Now, Shanks does pay with his life there. You can see the problem of still diving in to the Xayah and the Cassiopeia, but they've got so much gold behind them now. He takes so much damage with them. Knight tries to go for the flash ult, does hit Hope, but where's your damage after that point? It's not going to be coming from Elk. It has to come from you, the Cassiopeia. No one else is going to carry that fight. He dies for it, and there's no follow-up.
Instant Mikhail's cleanse on Tarzan there as well. Very nice stuff from Kyle. I'll give him a bit of a nod on that one. He's having a fantastic game on this Renata as well. For all we've seen, a lot of flash and hunger from Tarzan. 8 times He has been here before. Finally, he might be getting it. Elk! Oh my god, the death mark. Not quite enough to bring him down, but he's down at 3rd HP. Beige1 on, also in a potential change of his position. The shadow dash forward. Gets another. Can maybe reset to his own shadow. Needs to back away. Not afraid. All the while, Bin not quite at the mega. Hail of Arrows comes on down and will be forced to transform in short order. On now in danger as well. Knight throws down the miasma. But unfortunately, I think it's just the furor, the fugue of their own defeat looming in the background. The shield of Durand. Knight throws out a petrifying gaze, but no one is fooled. Medusa fell by the Perseus of anyone's legend.
Knight turns to stone as potentially anyone's legend turn golden. 2 years ago, I sat and watched Tarzan lose his finals against JDG and Knight in the finals when he was on LNG. A year ago, he was on Weibo making a finals versus BLG. And now he has a 3rd chance against Knight to finally see golden in his 7th finals. Beige1's caught out. He will go down. Anyone's legend. A team which I didn't expect to be here, which so many people didn't expect to be here, have truly earned this.
Handshake comes along. Tarzan murders the jungler. Beige1, I don't know how you were there. All you find is death. Baron is alive. Dragon is alive. Anyone's legend with options for 30 seconds while the jungler is not on the board.
Yeah, that's going to be so easy for them. Can head over to it as soon as it gets below half HP. Zed starts to shred through it. Elk doesn't have flash, has an ultimate. Shanks is going around the back to ward them out, though. Kyle doesn't have his ultimate. I don't think he necessarily needs it. BLG, I don't know what they do. I just don't know what they do. They're out of options.
Shanks. Gotta be so afraid. He's on a really good flank angle. Looks to come around with Tarzan. They're going in while their angle's not fantastic. Shanks not coming down with the hero's entrance. Gets the knock-up on. Damage is good onto Kyle. Cleanses himself. Bin doesn't land the wallop. All the while, Shanks and Tarzan on the backline. Throwing out shurikens. Good dodge away with the death mark. Gets to back away. Throwing out the shuriken. Goes back on the other side. Flash in. Baylor on top of it. Brought back to life. Hops on forwards again. He's just better.
Tarzan, look at the plays. Look at the moves. What was that? Tarzan, 9-0-7 on the Master of Shadows in his 7th attempt at a title, pulls out the flashiest assassin of all time in League, and may just be able to solo kill and solo carry his way to the title he has been earned and has been deserved of for so many years.
Go back to the Baron. We look again. What an insane play. They bring in Shanks. Bin tries to get the Meganar engaged. Elk and Knight, though, become victims of Zed. Tarzan, somewhere out there, Ryu is shuddering in his sleep. Not again, not a play like this. Phenomenal moves.
His accuracy, his ability to understand where his shadows are so important. Knows he has the bailout. So often Zed is a one-way trip when you assassinate. Not here. It's all just a non-stop trip to the Nexus.
It's not a one-way trip, it's a one-way road. The Golden Highway. 10 years has this organization waited. 8 finals has Tarzan waited. It's so close they can taste it.
9-0-7. A Magi's on Shanks. BLG, so often a shoo-in for a title in the last year or two. So often assumed victors of the LPL. No longer so. Flandre, a world champion, an LPL champion. Seen better days individually. Reinvigorated here on Anyone's Legend. Hope, a player which won a title back in 2022, but often people forget him behind the likes of Jackulove, of Elk, and the other great AD carries. Kyle, first international, a title which he has been deserved of for a while too. The best support this split. Let's not mention Shanks and Tarzan. This mid-jungle duo have been exemplary through this series.
Serpent's Fang done by Tarzan, by the way. There is no shield in the world that keeps you alive here. Andre forced the flash out of Beige1 just with the counterplay. Pillared himself towards him and really regretted it.
Anyone's Legend, I mean, so disgusting. How do BLG defend this? You know, typically you'd think that it's very good to play around the disengage of the Xayah and the Caspian. They've not been able to protect their backline. You don't have Stacy's, you don't have Zhonya's, you don't have enough damage. What do you have? Tarzan, level 16, 2 levels up on Beige1. A player, I think his story is inspiring Beige1. But he was never favored to beat Tarzan in the individual jungle matchup. And indeed, he hasn't today. Tarzan, a good chunk onto Beige1.
Shanks knocks down the turret. Mid lane exposed. Anyone's Legend on the verge of righting the wrongs of game 3. Try to turn on to the side of Flammers, just don't have the damage. Knight at 3 items, 3.5 items, and still can't deliver.
BLG, their early fights have been their undoing. even though it built their legacy, been not caught by that taunt, but not able to protect the inhibitor either. Anyone's Legend on the precipice of history, a team which no one expected to be here. If you followed them recently in the last year or two, they have deserved it so much as L takes another chunk.
Down to 20% HP, he can't stick around anymore. The arrow comes on, in comes Shank for the hero's entrance. Anyone's Legend. Get on down to 5%. Flandre forwards, another inhibitor under siege. They're looking for the Nexus turrets.
The inhibitor being felled. Hope walking forwards. Oh, Hope, a player which has been so far away from this title for so long, returning to it potentially after so many years.
The first turret around the Nexus falls, the first brick to what could be the final end of this journey. The Golden Highway looks finally to be completed. Knight brought low. The king of mid in LPL is slaughtered. Anyone can be a legend, yes, but today anyone's Legend are.
No knights, no gods, no king.